Like, no one reasonably would argue that a cop should not be allowed to move in front of a non-moving car at a traffic light.
I don't think anybody would argue that, because I don't think this ever happens, because a cop would never stand in front. I don't think I've ever watched a traffic stop where the cop just stands in front of the car. Like, these are like crazy power tripping wannabe gods to think that they could step in front of a Honda Pilot, and I don't even know what the point was. Like, I don't think any police officer, it could also be the fact that these guys got whatever 47 days of training and they're all 80 IQ Neanderthals or something. I don't know. And the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. All of this statement is a lie. Nobody told him this. He just said he watched the video and he saw this. What the was he watching?
Okay, well, I guess I'd say, listen, as far as Trump goes, Trump says regularly inflammatory things that may be...
Not inflammatory lies. These are wrong things. Why do you do that? The president of your country is telling demonstrably false lies, trying to stoke civil war in the country, and you're like, well, I think this might be bad. I don't know. Whoa, hello?
Hey, is my audio good?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry, it's my first time doing the online debate format, so I want to make sure it's all good.
Yeah, no problem. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Gotcha. I guess, do you want me to introduce myself at all, or?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, well, I'm Jackson Heberlin. I go by Jackson Heb on social media. I'm a content creator and a campus debater. Actually, I got to meet you a little bit, Steven, at the Unfuck America event. I can curse on here, right?
Yeah. You're good.
I got to meet you at the Unfuck America event. Outside, I'm sure you don't remember. You probably met like a million people that week. But yeah, I was wanting to come on to discuss the ICE shooting.
Okay, yeah, cool. Which event was it? Or what city, state were we in?
It was in Phoenix at AmFest. I got to meet you outside of the that one. I was the guy who was talking about how like I was originally a leftist and then became conservative.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah. Where do you want to start? I guess.
So, well, I guess, of course, I want to say that I think that it is a legally justifiable self-defense. And, of course, I think that breaks down into, obviously, what is justifiable self-defense. I guess, long explanation is obviously the officer has to reasonably perceive that there is imminent threat of a deadly force or a serious physical injury to themselves or another person. And I guess if I want to get more specific, that breaks down into sort of like three sub-qualifications, being imminence, proportionality, and reasonability. I think that all of these are well qualified in each situation.
Sure. Let me back up for 1 second. I think I reject the notion that it's ever self-defense to shoot at a person in a car. I don't think you ever defend yourself doing that. I don't think you ever accomplish that goal there.
I mean, I guess you could argue whether or not it's effective, but I would say that it definitely represents like legal, justifiable self-defense.
I don't know if it does. I don't think you can. I don't think you shooting at people in cars. I don't think you can ever use to justify like a self-defense shoot. I think that cops generally, when they shoot at people in cars, there are a set of circumstances that will lead up to that shoot being a good shoot. So, for instance, if there is like a person using a car in a way where they're very clearly trying to like run over or kill an officer, like the officer is allowed to shoot the person because they don't want the person to escape, because the person has already shown a willingness to commit a violent crime, and then if that person escapes, they could, represent a threat to others. But I don't think it looks like kind of self-defense, but it's not really self-defense. It's that the person has shown a willingness to murder and then could conceivably do it again. So I don't think just any car moving at you in any circumstances, because again, it doesn't defend yourself at all. I just don't see, generally self-defense is you're taking some kind of corrective step to make it so you're not going to get killed, no?
Well, I guess it may be so, like in terms of effectiveness, but I think in this scenario, it still fits the requirements for like legal use of force, I guess. Because legal precedent, there is legal precedent to shoot a car, being that the car is used as a deadly weapon.
Is the analysis there that the car shoot is done for self-defense, or is the analysis that the perpetrator has shown a willingness to use violence to kill somebody, and so the officer shoots the driver in an attempt to stop them from fleeing?
Not to stop them from fleeing. I would argue that the officer shot the legally shot the person.
Well, I'm not asking what you're arguing. You said that there was legal precedence. So if there was legal precedence, I'm guessing there was a court case, and then there's going to be a rationale given on that court case, and then as they speak through it, the judge will, I imagine, say this is why. There's the Barnes v. Felix case, I think, that a lot of people bring up, which I haven't read through all of yet, but I should. But part of this deals with like a officer-induced event. Like an officer can't place himself in harm's way just to shoot and kill somebody because for a whole bunch of reasons we obviously shouldn't want this to happen. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've read through some of the Barnes v. Felix stuff. I don't believe that this qualifies, or actually I would say I do not think that this qualifies from the evidence that we've seen as placing yourself in harm's way. And I have a couple of reasons why I don't believe that.
Why is that?
So, firstly, the officer is allowed to position himself in front of the non-moving car. I mean, you're allowed to secure the area around the vehicle.
Well, the car was moving, though, right?
Specifically, not when the officer placed himself in the way of it.
The
And
car,
actually,
he literally
was
just
more
went
so
back.
moved-
No? The car literally just backed up.
It had backed up while he was already in front of it. Let me pull up the footage to.
Sure, but the second it starts moving. Also, this is a turned-on vehicle with a driver in the car, like with the car clearly turned on. I think like it's pretty obvious that this is not like a stationary vehicle.
Yeah. Well, I guess the Barnes v. Felix example specifically is moving yourself in front of like a slow-moving vehicle to get hit by it, and then using that as grounds for retaliation. I think this is substantially different. Obviously, the car can rock back and forth, but the car had not began accelerating. It wasn't moving in any way that was demonstrating harm, and it only began to move after he had already put himself in that position wherein he was in, I guess, like a harm's way. But I don't believe the action of moving in front of the car has any is demonstrating placing yourself in front of harm's way. Because the car was not moving, so it wasn't like he wasn't in the line of harm in the moment wherein he was placing himself in front of the car.
Hold on, I need to see the video.
Yeah, it's obviously pretty semantic with all the little footage.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I will say that like even if he didn't back up initially, like this is a car in the middle of the street with the driver in the car, like with the ignition on. I guess. It might not be like strictly like a moving vehicle at that particular microsecond of time, but it's literally I just don't like in no part of any police interaction and no part of I don't know if you heard the term cop slap, but like I've never in my life seen a cop just like step in front of a car, because why would you do that? It's just like it's the suboptimal thing to do in every single thing. It's not maximizing for self-defense. It's not maximizing for controlling a situation. It's not maximizing for preventing a perpetrator from escaping. There'd be literally no justifiable reason in any way to do it. I don't understand why you would ever do it.
Well, I guess you can argue, like, and there's been a lot of, like, a reasonable criticism towards the tactic. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that the ICE officer behaved, like, in terms of, like, perfect, in terms of, like, optimal police tactics. But my argument more so goes around self-defense. Like, he's allowed to move in front of the car that is not moving. And then, because of what occurred after he made that, like, allowed action, he was allowed to demonstrate self-defense.
I reject. I just don't think that there's any precedence for self-defense shooting of a car. It's not self-defense. You're not defending yourself, right? Like it doesn't work. You're never defending yourself ever.
Well, you could be. I mean, I guess obviously, going into like the three main points where it's like imminence. Obviously, the collision was imminent. And then proportionality, it's a proportional response because it's a deadly weapon with a deadly weapon, which is like Supreme Court precedent. And then additionally, like reasonability, like he knew it was going to hit. So it definitely meets all the requirements for self-defense. And I guess I don't have the specific court case, but from the little bit of research that I did do prior, I have seen, I believe there are multiple documented incidents wherein shooting at a car is considered self-defense. Because obviously, while the car still continues to go, it's not going to accelerate in the same way if you were,
So I'd be interested
accelerating.
in looking over one or two of those. I posted something in the chat on the side. It's pretty clear that the car backs up and the guy's just standing in front of the car. Like if your standard here has to do with moving vehicle, like the cop should have just stepped out of the way. If he sees the car, especially like why are they backing up here? It's obviously to leave. So the guy is like, he moves to stand in front of the car as it's backing up. He very easily could have just taken another step or two to the side. Like he pulls his gun out like right as the car basically changes gears, and then starts shooting.
This gets like obviously, this gets really semantic, but I guess obviously like you can argue that maybe he should have stepped aside, but legally he has no obligation to. He has no duty to retreat. They're attempting to detain someone, and the car rapidly reverts. And actually, from the footage of his handheld, it seems as though it reverses to be more with him in the line of sight. So it reverses rapidly and then switches into accelerating towards him, and he visibly sees them not break the wheel far enough to the right to avoid him. So
but isn't that kind of betrayed by the fact that they literally did avoid him? He literally didn't even get hit at all by the car, even though he made minimal attempt to move. And then when you say, like they were trying to detain a person, you can't shoot a person just because you're trying to detain them and they run away. You're not allowed to just shoot the person.
No, absolutely. The detaining is not he couldn't have shot them just for fleeing. Absolutely, that's not allowed. But he shot them because they hit him with the car. And I get that that's being contested here, but I believe that's kind of like provably not possible. And there's the footage that I guess I would say disproves this. There's sort of three angles of the footage that I think all disprove the fact that he didn't get hit by the car. I think it's obvious that he did. From the footage wherein you can see the officer reaching into the car to try and unlock it. This is like obviously the hardest footage to see, and it's sort of uniquely a bad angle to tell that he gets hit, but even in this one, I think it's provable that he did. If you watch it in slow motion from the initial encounter, there's multiple frames wherein he's almost like Michael Jackson leaned forward, and obviously this is not like a bodily position that you could really.
Well, I think he's leaned forward because his hand is on the car, but I think there's a reason why I know he didn't get hit by the car, and it's because nobody in the administration said so. And the administration has already proven that they're willing to lie multiple times about this incident. Donald Trump has, Kristi Noem has, and if so many people are willing to lie, I don't know why they wouldn't just put out this small piece of truth, because it would help their case. So I'm very confident that he has absolutely no injuries or marks from being hit at all by the car, regardless of what a video angle may or may not show. I've watched those from all I think the 3 or 4 big ones available. But I guess I'm looking at like the reaction to all of the other officers around here, and it seems very obvious that literally nobody else is perceiving this lady as a threat, and I don't even believe the officer in front of the car is perceiving the lady as a threat. Nobody else draws their firearm. The officer that does draw his firearm is literally holding a cell phone the entire time. It doesn't seem like he's worried whatsoever about his life. He's not scared at all. I think he manages to hold his phone throughout the entire shoot. He even switches his phone's hand to his non-dominant hand so he can draw his gun to shoot. He holsters his firearm immediately after. Nobody goes chasing the woman like they're worried about her being a dangerous threat or anything. I'm pretty sure the guy was just mad as fuck, because I'm guessing they had an argument that we haven't seen yet off camera, because he had his phone out and he was standing behind the car before and he's just upset.
I would strongly contest that he didn't fear for his life. I mean, if you watch the footage and you listen, especially to his handheld footage, you can hear him audibly you go like, whoa, in terror as the car accelerates. And I guess I'm happy to go down the road about whether or not he did make contact, because I do believe that is proven by multiple pieces of footage.
Do we have any hospital reports? Because he went to the hospital, he was checked out, right?
I don't believe he sustained serious injury from the
or minor injuries.
Like, I haven't seen evidence of that. I don't know for certain, but that doesn't really pertain to the legality of his.
Sure, maybe not. But I'm just saying that he went to the hospital, he got checked out. This administration has put out a myriad of statements about this incident. Nothing about any injuries sustained or anything like that. So I feel very comfortable saying the officer sustained no injuries, unless I see something different from from the hospital or any kind of official release like that. Because nothing was announced for that.
From the footage, it most definitely seems that he probably didn't sustain any serious injuries. I mean, it's very obvious that he's walking towards the vehicle. Like, I wouldn't contest that at all. But I think whenever you watch the footage, I feel that whether he's seen injury, obviously that doesn't pertain to the legality of it all. And I believe, especially from the 3 pieces of footage, I think reflect that he did get hit. And I guess I'll go in order from weakest to what I'd say is the most strong. Firstly, I think that the handheld footage, you can audibly hear a different sound of the collision prior to shooting. And I've seen some people dismiss this as being rustling in his pocket, but I think if you go really slowly in the audio, and I did in a video I made about this, you can see that there is a difference in the way that the impact
again, this is not, there's nothing on video that's going to convince me of this. When he went to the hospital and was cleared, and there wasn't any release of any kind of injury whatsoever. There's just no.
I mean, do you have to be physically injured to have been hit by the car?
I imagine if you got hit, there would at least be a bruise or something, right?
Well, no one's arguing that he got violently hit.
Hold on, let me repeat this again. Hold on, because you keep saying, I'm saying that he didn't even get a minor injury. I think in my mind, where I'm at right now, is the only contact he had with the car was his hand that was on the hood, because he was leaning over. I don't think the car hit him, bumped him, bruised him, or anything whatsoever. I don't think even a minor abrasion or minor trauma or anything. I don't think anything happened. I don't think he had a single bruise. That's my position. And I think that the fact that he went to the hospital and he got cleared on that seems to agree with me, because I feel like if there was any injury whatsoever, that would have been information that would have been released to us by now.
See, I think that this is like a false equivalency of whether or not he was injured and whether or not he was hit. I mean, obviously you can argue that there maybe would have been some small hit or a bruise or something along those lines, but if you notice, he gets clearly, I guess the 2 pieces of footage I think disprove this is the side shot. If you go slowly in this, you can see him get uncontrollably moved by the vehicle. There's frames wherein he's not leaning over the vehicle, but wherein he's he's moved by the car specifically whenever it hits, at the moment of shooting, in a semi-uncontrollable fashion.
Well, because it looks like he's leaning over because he's got his hand on the hood.
I don't believe that's true. I think that's not reflected, especially when you look at the the rooftop footage, the semi-aerial footage of the rooftop.
You mean the guy recording from the window or whatever?
Yes. It's higher up.
What part of his body do you think the vehicle made contact with?
I don't know if it's too like clear to call, but it most definitely he made contact with enough of his body to physically move him out of the way. So it was definitely not his hand. Like I don't think it just bumped his hand and then he fired away. I think it was very clear that it hit him, probably like on his like left side of his body, somewhat rotating him and causing him to be moved notably from the vehicle.
So that hit was enough to move what looks to be ordinary adult-sized male. Not a single bruise on his body from it.
Well, the level of movement's going to be exacerbated because he's on ice. So, like, I mean, I guess they definitely like cast some level of doubt the fact that he didn't have an injury, but it definitely doesn't disprove it at all.
No, I agree. It wouldn't disprove it. However, the problem is that he went to the hospital immediately after to get cleared, and then there was nothing, no report of any injury or anything, no bruises. When I say injury, I'm including like even like a bruise. Like there was no marks or anything that any information that was released about that. So it's like he went to the hospital. There was absolutely not even a small bruise on his body.
I mean, yeah, he may not have been bruised from it, but like you can visually see him get hit though, like make contact with the vehicle.
Okay. I mean that can be a position that you take if you want to say that he got hit by the vehicle, and then you want to say he got hit by the vehicle, but there's not even a minor anything, I guess, on his body from it?
Yeah, I guess if that's what the official medical report is, and that is just a factual statement. But by no means do I believe that contests the nature of him being hit or not being hit. I think it's obviously that he is hit in multiple angles of the footage. Watching in slow motion right now just to point towards the better version. But definitely the rooftop footage. I'm
curious. When we look at the footage of the officer, the actual footage of him, like I see, like you have a car that's turned on in the middle of the street. I'm watching him. He walks to the front. Like, why does he step in front of this car here? I don't understand why he would stand in front of the car with the driver in the car with the car on. He sees her turn the wheel. He sees her back up.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
I guess it's important to like differentiate between the 2 points. So I'm fully like I don't have enough information about how law enforcement operates to contest whether or not he was or was not acting like in the most efficient way. I know I've seen some police chiefs say this is a reasonable tactic. I know the Minnesota, I believe, police chief said, or no, Minneapolis police chief said that this is not a way that any of his people would behave. But I don't see that as like my only focus of this whole thing is whether or not he committed a crime of like murder.
Sure.
That's really all that I'm.
But the important thing is whether or not he's placing himself, because you can't place yourself in a situation where you're just gonna have to shoot somebody. And all the federal guidelines and everything claim that you're not supposed to put yourself in front of a car. That you can't. That Barnes case, you can't have a situation where an officer placed himself where he's gonna have to kill somebody when it could easily be avoided. And just looking at this, like, there's absolutely no reason. Can you admit that there's no reason for the cop to ever step in front of this vehicle, and that he's already seen it move, and that it's an active vehicle that the lady's in? Like, there's no reason for him. Like, if he was scared for her to hit him or whatever, why wouldn't he? I don't understand why he would just be in front of this vehicle. There's literally no reason. He does it twice too.
Well, so I don't believe that he was afraid of like dying prior to her moving in the vehicle. And so I guess it's an important differentiation. We're talking about like the Barnes versus Felix. You cannot move yourself if the car was already moving, and then he jumped in front of the vehicle and shot her. That's obviously illegal, super messed up, should go to jail. But this is a very different scenario because he steps in front of the car while it's not moving.
No. When you say moving or not moving, I don't believe that there's any court case ever that uses the language that you're moving there. Moving or not moving. I don't believe it. My guess is going to be
Barnes versus Felix uses the language of a slow-moving car.
Yes, but I'm sure that the it's only a 17-page case. I'm trying to find it in here. I'm sure that it has to do more with a car that is like active versus a car that is completely inactive. You're going to treat a car that's sitting at a red light a lot differently than you would a parked car with the keys out of the ignition, and a person outside the car or something. Like, this car is in the middle of the street. He watches the car, I think, back up, and he sees the wheels turn when like right here, the car start, like at 39 seconds in the last video I linked, you can see that the car backs up and he stands in front of it. Why? What's he going to do? Block it? Like, you're inducing a death scenario here, which is exactly what happened. And a scenario where there's no threat to his life, which is exactly also what happened.
Where can I find the linked video?
Oh, if you click Destiny's Room in Discord, if you click open chat on the left, this is the officer body camera footage.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I'll pull this up. So I fully contest that he moved himself in the way of harm because, so first off, like, I guess moving.
Well, and also in front of a moving car too. That's what I'm saying. At 39 seconds, this car is moving backwards, and he steps in front of it.
Well, he's already in the line of sight. So,
Well, but he
once
can
you're
move,
in a
right?
position-
He can move.
Once, yeah, you can. He does make movement while he's already in front of the car, but I guess it's a clear differentiation. So, once
Wait,
he's
no, wait.
already in a
He has
position-
his phone out and he's recording. He's not hustling. He's not moving. This is not the movement of a man who is potentially fearing for his life.
I guess I want to break it down to a few points because it's a little bit like so firstly, like the point of a car being on, like you should never put yourself in the way of an on car versus a parked car. This is different. While these things are different actions, it is most definitely not considered putting yourself in the way of harm to move in front of a on car. That is not with this parking brake on. Like for example, if someone's at a traffic stop, it's not in any way considered like placing yourself in harm's way to stand in front of a vehicle. If you're moving around a vehicle on a traffic light, like no one reasonably would argue that a cop should not be allowed to move in front of a non-moving car at a traffic light.
I don't think anybody would argue that because I don't think this ever happens because a cop would never stand in front. I don't think I've ever watched a traffic stop where the cop just stands in front of the car. Like I don't think I've ever, because obviously that would be a thing to do. The cop would get killed. Why would he do that? Like nobody does that. Like these are like crazy power tripping wannabe gods to think that they could step in front of a Honda Pilot, and I don't even know what the point was. Like I don't think any police officer. It could also be the fact that these guys got whatever 47 days of training and they're all 80 IQ Neanderthals or something. I don't know, but like no ordinary traffic cop. I've seen so many cop stop videos on YouTube. Cops would never pull you over, and I got a lot of speeding tickets when I was younger. Okay, cops never pull you over and then stand in front of your car. What would be the point of that? You're just gonna die. You don't accomplish anything else.
I mean, I can empathize with criticisms over the tactics, and obviously there is a lot of criticism.
Wait. It's not a criticism of the tactic. It's a tactic that you would never use. It doesn't help you enforce the law. It doesn't keep the perpetrator safe. It doesn't keep you safe. It's literally minimizing it for every single outcome, except for the likelihood of somebody dying.
But he's still not placing himself in the way of harm by moving in front of a non-moving vehicle.
It was
Like,
moving.
okay,
Wait here.
Not at the moment
Click the link that I did and watch from like 30 seconds onwards. And just
I'm seeing messages failing to load right now. Sorry.
On Destiny's room, there's like a
yeah. I'm in the like sub chat and I'm not getting the. It says messages failed to load. Like I'm getting an error code.
Okay, hold on, wait. Fuck. I'm adding you as a friend on Discord, and then I can send you a link on Discord.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, this is the handheld footage. Okay, so he's already, I guess I can break it down by like a bit by bit and why it justifies. So the initial action of he goes around the car to speak to her, and then afterward he positions himself later on. So here I'm watching him move in front of the car. So the car reverses to a position where he is more directly in front of the car.
What timestamp are you at?
I'm at 35 seconds.
Okay. Okay, 35 seconds. Yep, I'm watching.
So he stands in front of the car, or moves himself in front of the car while it is reversing.
Mm-hmm. Which is a type of movement, right?
He's already in front of the car while it's reversing. Actually, he's already in the line of the car's trajectory while it is reversing.
He could move.
He can, but he doesn't have to. He has no legal duty to retreat.
He absolutely does. He's standing in front of a car. What do you mean? No, he doesn't.
Legally, he has no duty to retreat.
He absolutely has a duty to move himself. You're confusing. You're using this phrase "legal duty to retreat" to imply or to intuition pump here that somebody's charging at him with a knife. But that's not the case here. This isn't a weapon that's being used to murder somebody. It's also a tool that's being used to transport people. It's a car. The idea that he wouldn't have a duty to retreat if he was literally being attacked with a weapon, I agree. But in this case, he places himself in front of a car, and if anything, I kind of wonder, because the lady, as she goes to put it in park and looks at him, I wonder if she just expects him to keep walking. But if anything, he stops. He stops like he wants to fight the car at like 40 seconds. Like he could have just continued walking around and he probably would have made it. Like 39, 40, at around 40 seconds, he stops moving like he's going to block the car with his body. And then he reaches and he shoots her when she starts driving away.
So legally, he does not have a duty to retreat if he is in front of the vehicle. And the vehicle is a deadly weapon in the scenario. Yeah, he sure can transport people.
No, he has a duty not to place himself in front of the car. And he doesn't have the right to kill her because he decided to step in front of the car.
He does not have a duty to place himself in front of the car. He has a duty not to place himself in front of the car while it is moving towards him.
Okay, hold on. I just need to...
Yeah, this is a pretty difficult topic to argue just because it's so footage intensive. I'm sure it's really boring for the.
Well, no, no,
stream
no, no.
side.
Just to be clear, this is not difficult at all. This is super easy. If the political parties or whatever were changed, you would be on the exact opposite side of this because it's very, very, very obvious. Like, I can link you the DHS training manual. I can link you any local cop manual. Like, you do not place yourself in front of a vehicle. We can go through a million traffic stop videos on YouTube that involve killings and non-killings. You will never see a cop just stand in front of a vehicle. It's not good for the cop. It doesn't help him do any part of his job. And then you can't. It's just the worst and dumbest thing in the universe to do. You would never see it. You can't find any analog shooting like this ever happening because a cop just wouldn't do it because it's dumb. The guy stepped in front of the car for no reason. We both see. You agree. If he would have just kept walking, he would have been out of sight of the car, right? 100%. Or like the cop chooses this fight here. He chooses to place himself in front of a vehicle. It's very obvious to everybody that this vehicle is about to leave, right? She backs up, turns her wheel. Like everything here is communicating that she's going to leave, and then he decides to turn it into a murder situation.
So I guess these are very different things. And I do want to break it down into like the two categories of like points. So the first point, I feel as though this is unrelated. So obviously, whether or not he is doing the like a correct police maneuver, I don't know everything, but the evidence that I've seen seems as though he is not behaving in the way that is ideal to manage the situation. That's probably, I'd say, almost factually true. It probably would have been easier off if he had kept walking, yeah, but it's about the legality. Like, I'm only concerned with whether or not he legally acted in self-defense. And so you are allowed to legally move yourself in front of a car that is not actively driving towards you, 100%. That's just factual. It may not be a good measure, it may not be a common measure, but it is a legal measure. And then after he's already here, the car is driving towards him and makes contact with him. In that scenario, it is he didn't place himself in harm's way by moving in front of a car that was not driving towards him, and then the car started to drive towards him. Like there's no other scenario wherein.
What did you think the car was back? Did you think the car was backing up to just back up forever into the Pacific Ocean, or what?
I mean, I can't read his mind, but even then, he was already in the way of the car. Of the car's final path while the car backed up. So if you look at like, and this is where it gets super semantic, but he stands pretty much still. Like he roughly stops moving as the car is backing up, and the car backs up, moving him into the trajectory of the vehicle. So he doesn't see the car backing up and then move in front of it. He's in front of it, and the car backs up to make himself in front of it, I guess, essentially, which is a little bit visually hard because the car moves in a way that makes it seem as if it's a contiguous motion that is continuing. But which I guess is repeated. But he's already in the path of the car as the car is reversing.
If he would have just kept walking, he would have been totally outside of where this car was pointed. No.
Yeah, I mean, if he jumped out of the way when the car came at him, if he
not jump, just sprinted, just kept walking at the exact same pace he was at 40 seconds. If he would have just kept walking at the exact same pace instead of stopping here, he stopped at 40 seconds. He stopped here to watch this, and then if he would have just kept walking with the same slow pace, he would have been totally fine.
That's not a legal argument, though. Like, that has nothing to do with the legality of the situation.
Well, it does, because he's literally just planting himself in an area so that he has no choice but to kill somebody.
He has okay. So as far as legality, like you talk about placing yourself in harm's way versus being in harm's way and then not like running out of the way. These are very different things because one of these is illegal, one of these is not.
Yeah, so he places himself in harm's way by standing in front of a car that's on in the middle of the street, and then he sees it back up, and you know that they're backing up to leave, and he stands in front of the car. He's placing himself in harm's way.
No. Placing himself in harm's way does not like account for like not continuing to move out of harm's way. If you're placing yourself in a like legally allowed position, and then from there you have to stop, and then while you're stopping you remain in or you're moved in harm's way, that's like different than placing yourself in harm's way. It's being in harm's way and then not like running out of it. And even then, I would maybe even contest that he was able to move out of the way. Like I obviously don't know. His reaction time, I don't know if he fully understood that when she was backing up, she was going to accelerate into him.
Well, to be clear, she didn't accelerate into him. She accelerated to the right to leave, which is very obvious.
It just happened to be into him, though.
Well, because he decided to step in front of the vehicle again and just implanted his feet there when she backed up to leave.
He was already in front of her whenever she had began to turn right. Like, I don't argue that she probably wasn't trying to drive into him and then like run him over into the barricade, but she most definitely made a decision which allowed her to hit him as she was trying to get out of there, which is exercising deadly force on him.
How is that? Even if I were to grant all of that, how is that deadly force?
Any vehicle attack is considered deadly force.
So if an officer is standing
Being
next
hit
to me
by
and
a
I
car.
open my door and I hit him with the door, he can shoot and kill me because I'm using my car as a deadly weapon?
I guess I was too liberal with my language, but if you're hit by a car, it is deadly force.
The officer is... Hold on. I'm just saying if we agree on this point. If he were to continue walking instead of stopping at 40 seconds, not sprinting, not jumping, if he would just continue to walk, he wouldn't be in the path of this car at all, correct?
That seems factually true, yeah.
Okay. And we see that he decides to stop walking after the car is moving already, right?
Yes.
So he's walking, and then it looks like... Hold on. Then the car starts to move, and then while the car is moving, he stops in front of the car.
Yes.
So why doesn't he just keep walking?
I mean,
fact, it almost
totally...
looks like he takes a step back towards the car. Hold on. At like 40 seconds. This is not the... So, to be fair, because the legal analysis of this truly has to begin prospectively with the state of mind of the person. It actually doesn't matter if the person behind the car has a lethal intent or anything else, right? Because we don't know that. The person at the time, it's like there's like a reasonable person standard, okay? And but the issue is that people like to try to bring up some of the legal stuff to say that, people on the left are missing the analysis. But when you start getting into the legal stuff and you do this like reasonable person test and you start looking at the actions of every other person around and the actions of the cop, like, do you sincerely believe, at 39 seconds, do you sincerely believe that this cop thought that his life was in danger?
I believe he legally is allowed to have thought that.
No. Would a reasonable officer in this position, okay, who just spent 40 seconds arguing with a lesbian couple in a Honda Pilot, who is circling this vehicle the entire time, where no violent actions or words have been exchanged, you think at 39 seconds, do you think that this cop could have reasonably thought, oh, she's trying to murder me with her car?
He was about to hit him with a deadly weapon. He definitely reasonably...
Do you think that... No. Murder. That she was trying to kill him with the car. She was intentionally aiming her car at him because she wants to run him over. That a reasonable officer in this position would have thought that.
Attack with a deadly weapon, this is Graham versus Connor, is always reasonably be able to be retaliated with a deadly weapon. He doesn't have to evaluate... I guess whether or not it is intentional, she is still attacking him with a deadly weapon and making an active decision that will lead to that.
You're conflating the deadly weapon thing. A car has dual use. It's not just a weapon, right? So if it was like a machete or a gun, then I think this deadly weapon reasonable approach is okay. Like, I'm not going to assume he's going to shoot me in the leg. He's got a gun, he could kill me. But with a vehicle, we also have to make the call on whether or not we think it's being used to try to kill somebody or the person just driving away with it. So at 39 seconds, do we genuinely feel like an officer in this position would be like, oh yeah, she's trying to kill me. She's using her car as a deadly weapon and not just trying to drive away.
Part when you hit someone is always a deadly weapon. I mean, yeah, sure, she could have been trying to use it as transport, but she clearly used it in the scenario as a weapon. It was
but like clearly that's not factually that's not what happened, right? Like you have no proof that the officer got hit by anything. There was no release from the hospital. You can look at a video from different angles and you can give me your take on it, but that's just not what happened. That's never going to be the case, and you've always lost that argument without anything from the hospital to show otherwise. Unless you're saying an adult male got hit by an SUV thing and there's not even a single bruise on his body to show for it.
Well, the hospital thing does not at all disprove that he was hit. Hold on. So if you go to the footage wherein he's clearly displaced actively by the vehicle, and if you watch the handheld footage, it's clearly unexpected.
No one is arguing that he was displaced by the vehicle. I think he was displaced, but it's because he leaned forward and he put his hand on the hood to do it.
Wait, okay, so you think that he was in fact hit by the vehicle, but only because his hand was on the top?
I don't think he was hit. I think his hand... Like, if you ever stood on an escalator and you put your hand on something stationary and you get kind of like dragged to the side or whatever, like that, he put his hand on the hood of the car.
So you think his hand on the car is what dragged him to the point that he was like, I don't
know if he got dragged. I think he just got like moved to the side a little bit and then he reached in and started shooting.
He shoots as he gets hit by the car. But,
you think he's being hit by the car while he's shooting in from the side? How long is this Stretch Armstrong's torso?
He gets hit and shoots almost at the exact same time. This is all footage backs this up. I mean, if you look as his and also his leg, if you look at the footage that is here, I can link this. This is a slow-mo version on Twitter. It's from some guy with a Punisher skull profile picture, but it has like this is just like one of the slow-mo videos. But if you look here, his leg is physically in front of the left bumper of the vehicle, at least his leg. Although this angle itself is a pretty rough angle, but even this one backs it up. And then as he shoots, he like spins out to a point that he's like fully leaned forward. I do not at all think it's reasonable to say that his hand on the hood of the car caused him to like rotate almost like half an angle, and then, or not half an angle, almost like 45 degrees, and then like stumble to the point that he's fully leaning like 45 degrees forward. Like I put my hand on a lot of escalators and they never dragged me like 2 feet over to the left and then like made me almost fall over.
Hold on. Yeah, I don't think the vehicle ever made contact with any part of his body besides his hand. I feel even more comfortable after watching what you just linked.
Did you really feel that? I mean,
hold on, wait. I'm watching it. So 10 seconds. I see him pull the thing out. So it looks like he is moving like 12 to 13 seconds. But like oh yeah, no shot. So at around 14 seconds or 14 and a half seconds in this video is when he fires the first shot. If you look at the bottom, his foot is already, his whole body must be out of the way here. His hips have to be out of the way of the front of the car. He's completely outside of the car even being in the line of his body at this point. I think he's got a hand on the windshield, and then he makes his first shot in, but like you can see his foot on the ground. Unless he's like a UFO saucer hip guy, there's no way that his hip can possibly...
What frame is this you're talking about?
I don't know which frame. I meant like around, like with all the action happening in 14 seconds.
Okay, gotcha. Because, well, I mean, I think if you go, like, there's a couple of frames that make it obvious he's uncontrollably being moved by the vehicle.
What timestamp?
So I would say 15 seconds makes it very obvious. You can see both of his feet in this area are like placed side by side, and he's leaned forward with his like only his toes touching the ground.
Yes.
Like I think wait.
Why did that happen though? It's because he had his hand on the windshield and the car is moving. Now he's losing his balance because a lot of his balance was on his hand. And then as the car moves away, he loses balance. He's on his tiptoes because he's falling forward, and then he catches himself. Yeah, 100%. Or if you don't believe my analysis there, tell me what part of the video do you think the car is making contact with his hips or his body?
I think the car makes contact with his hips and his body at around I'd say frame. Like I think it makes contact with the left side of his body at around for like a 13 seconds. Like a split second before he fires off the first shot. It's hard because this was obscured by the guy in the front. So the frame, like wherein he does get hit, I can screenshot it if it makes it easier.
Wait. But if you're saying that he got hit at 13 seconds, then your analysis doesn't make sense of him. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Are you saying that at 15 seconds when his leg comes back, you think that's in response to the car hitting him? Like it hit his body so much that it threw his leg back like that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then I know I'll bet you, I don't know, we could do like a friendly $20 on this. You're 100% incorrect. Because for his leg to have been moved, that's him pulling his leg back because he's losing his balance. If it would have been a hit from the vehicle, one, I don't think the vehicle's even moving fast enough for that. Even if it was directed, number one, but number two, that would absolutely leave bruising or some kind of mark on his body. Or actually, I've driven in snow before. You can't even lean on a fucking car like this without your pants or your coat or whatever getting all fucked from all the stupid sludge and snow and shit. There would be a mark on his outfit. There would have been a mark from the bumper. There would absolutely be, and then bruising on the body for sure. This is him. He's pulling his leg back because he's losing his balance. If you really think that I'm just one more time. I'm seeing, now I'm understanding what you're saying. At 15 seconds, his leg coming back there, you think is in response to his body getting hit.
Well, do you mean his other leg or the? Okay, wait,
I think his left leg. You think that leg that's coming back is coming back. His whole body's coming back because he got hit so hard by the vehicle. It's throwing his whole body back like that.
I mean, this isn't like the hill I'm dying on, but I think that seems very likely. That's my read of the footage. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's way more likely that
the hit also is like unrelated to the legality of firing back, but but also if you look at like around frame 16, like part of the reason why I think that the hit is so like over dramatic relative to the impact is if you look at like frames 15 or 14 through 16, if you just like scan by, even the other guy falls because they're on ice. Like he almost slips just from like having his hand in the window and like being knocked around. Like it's very clear to me that they're on ice, so it's exacerbating how how the movement is, because he gets clipped by the car.
Well, but you're not talking. Hold
it seems to
on.
bump him
When you
over.
talk about they're on ice, that's a traction issue. But
Yeah.
you're saying that the guy up front, when his leg was thrown back, that has nothing to do with him being on ice. You're saying that the physical force imparted on his body was so great that it caused his whole body to twist around, and his leg and his arm got thrown back like that. But if that was the case, we would absolutely expect to see some type of evidence of that.
Well, if you look, he's pivoting
Also,
on
if
his
you-
left foot
also, if you-
so it could be that he gets hit and then he spins.
Well, that's
from
right too.
that
But
as
also
opposed
because
to
you mentioned him on his tiptoes as well,
on his
right?
right foot. Sorry.
If he was pushed, wouldn't we expect to see him more on his heels or like backing up like that, as opposed to if his hand was on something that was driving away and pulling his arm? Then we would expect him to see it on his tiptoes, right? Like if we look at the officer that's closer to the camera, as the vehicle pulls away, he's kind of like moving onto his toes because he's like losing his balance on the car because it's like moving in front, it's like dragging him, right?
Yeah. I think he was also dragged by the vehicle. Like, to me, this just
the same way that the
physically
front
makes sense.
cop was, because he had his hand on the hood.
Well, he was being dragged. Okay, so I guess there's maybe a miscommunication. Like, I don't think that the car hit him and like a shock wave just sent him flying. I think he was hit by the car, was in the line of the car, and then from the car's like impact, it pushed him and like over a duration imparted the force that caused him to twist on his right foot. And I think because he's on ice with his right toe, then the lack of friction makes it possible for him to sort of like I don't know if you've ever been on ice and you've like done like a pirouette or whatever, like it kind of spun around. I think him with his right foot being on ice allows him to turn more so. But regardless of debating like the physics of the physical encounter, if you look from the overhead, which I can try and find a better clip of, all the clips have the really corny like music from people who are like celebrating her death because they're freaks. But hold on. Yeah, this has the really corny like Smash Mouth music, but it's like still a zoomed in angle. Here you can very clearly see like what I'm describing, wherein the vehicle comes at him. He reacts in like a startled, scared way, and then you see him get like pushed with the side of the vehicle that imparts the twist upon him. Like I really feel like this angle is the most damning, although it's just so low quality. And yeah, like his hand could have been also on the hood, but that doesn't disprove the fact that he was getting like hit by the car.
There's New York Times did one where there's like all three footages synced. I don't think I don't know if you can say from like the 7 pixels of this guy, but even here, I don't think you're seeing him getting hit by the car. Like his legs are fully back before, like, unless this guy is literally Michael Jackson at like 1 to 2 seconds, like it looks like he's leaning forward on the car.
I think if you pan to 6 to 7 or 6 or 7, if you pan through like 6, 8, and 7, like that whole area, I think you can physically see his torso get bumped by the car. Like it's very obvious to me.
Look at like 7 seconds. He's leaning forward, like he's leaning onto the car.
Yeah, I mean, if you get hit, you're probably gonna like be leaned into it. You're not gonna want to lean back and get thrown on your butt and then like ran over by the wheel. Like I think
if you're, I don't know if anybody would lean into a car that's hitting them. I'm just saying that like he's leaning and his hand is on the vehicle. I don't think he's getting hit by it ever.
I mean, just pan through like.
I'm panning through. It looks like
7.
at like 6 seconds, his hand is on the hood, and then he looks like he's pulling out his gun at some point, and then the car is moving forward. His hip, like I'm looking at like right when the thing turn, or right around maybe the middle of 7 seconds, like it looks like his hips and everything are completely out of the way. Like when the car goes by him,
his left foot get like uncontrollably displaced by the front of the car, like by the hood of the car in the video.
No, where? At what point?
If you go through like frame 7, basically, you can see his like foot, his torso gets displaced by the vehicle, and then his foot turns in accordance. Like I'm not saying that he didn't.
No,
like,
he's just pulling his foot.
He's
He's just pulling his foot back. There is no hit by the car. None of this hits him. He just pulls his leg back because he's falling over because his hand is on the hood of the car. You agree at the very least. The hospital analysis agrees with me far more than it does you, correct?
No, I don't contest that. I don't concede that. I think it's obvious the hospital analysis like proves that he didn't get like slammed, like have a broken rib, but it doesn't prove that he didn't get bumped by the car that was accelerating away from or accelerating.
Hold on. Okay, let's see if we can agree on this. Can a car cause an adult male's body to move that much without leaving a bruise?
Yeah, I did hear. I mean, I'd say. Okay,
I think we just. I think we did. I don't think that or maybe everybody I know and myself bruises easily, I don't think you're getting hit by a car like that and causing your whole body to move, and there's not even a bruise on your body. I'm not saying like internal bleeding, hemorrhaging to death, but like not even a bruise.
Well, also he's wearing like a bulletproof vest. I think the primary impact hits at his like chest. I mean, there's a lot of other factors that could inhibit this. Like, I don't believe that he got like full body like plowed. I think in some ways he was fortunately able to kind of roll with it. It seems like that's obvious with him spinning, but he most definitely got hit by the car. I think that's, to be fully frank, I think it's just obvious from the video. The car made impact in a way that was uncontrollable to him and imparted like a rotational speed to him. Either that, or he had his hand on the front of the car and then reactionarily like bumped back. Like,
if this is an ordinary size adult male, what is it, like 180 pounds plus or whatever?
He's a pretty chunky guy.
There's how much to impart that much force. I don't know. Like in terms of like size of adult men, that's a lot of force that you would need to be able to move somebody like that. Also, again, somebody linked the same footage, I guess, is a little bit higher quality. I just don't see a convincing part here where it's like, oh, the car definitely made contact with him. It looks more just like he's leaning over on the thing and he gets dragged a little bit because his hand is on the hood. I don't see a part where it hit him.
This is higher quality. Hold on, let me look at this part of the footage. This is definitely the highest quality version I've seen of this. So he goes in here. For some reason, it's not letting me scrub through it, so it's taking a second. I think it's so like I think it's so painfully obvious that it makes contact with his torso and like slides him. Like I really do believe that.
You can believe it, but the video evidence is murky at best for what you're saying. I would argue the video evidence supports that he just had his hand on the thing more and he was getting dragged like that. But the hospital report absolutely agrees with me. And there is no world where an adult male body gets moved that much by a car, and there's not even like gunk or snow on his outer coat or whatever, let alone at least a bruise or something.
Well, the car wasn't going like unbelievably fast when it hit him.
It has to. No. For your story to make sense, the car has to be moving quite fast because you're saying that it caused his whole body to swing around. A car moving at 2 miles an hour is not going to hit an adult male's torso and swing it around, right? He didn't even drop his phone.
This is empirically verifiable, though. I mean, you can watch like the footage and see it's not going like insanely fast, but it's accelerating into him. So it's definitely like, in my opinion, imparted enough rotational force. Like this gets like so in the weeds. But even then, if the car was hit him while it was going slower, and then it was accelerating into him, that also would support my narrative more because the initial impact would be lesser due to the speed, just like physics, the speed imparting less force upon him initially, and then him getting pushed with it. Where at that point the acceleration is modifying his body's like speed. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's weird.
No, you're just it can't possibly be that the hit was so strong that it caused his whole body to rotate, but the guy doesn't even have a bruise on his body.
I don't believe it's likely that if he wasn't on ice that he would have just like flown out of the way.
No. You can't say on ice. No. You can't say on ice. Ice has to do with traction. You're saying that he got hit so hard that it causes. It doesn't matter if he's on ice or pavement or anything.
It absolutely does have to do with ice because it's a rotational change. So if you go back to the footage of the first clip that you sent me, then you notice that there's a clearly imparted rotational change upon him. So the ice does play a big role. Or not the first footage, the second footage, sorry, the one that I sent you. If you look here, most of the change that he experiences is while he's balanced. His balance shifts from his left foot to being balanced on his right foot, and then from there his right foot spins, so likely being on ice, as the same case because it looks like there's a sheet below him and his partner. His partner spins because he's obviously on ice, so that would exacerbate the appearance of the rotational force.
I don't think any of them are on ice. I don't think they're spinning because they're on ice. I think they're spinning because their hand is on a vehicle that starts to drive away, and that causes them to spin.
The guy on the right, I think, is provably on ice. If you watch from footage 14 to 16, his left foot loses traction in a way that would not happen on pavement.
Hold on.
So the one I sent with the Punisher skull, like Shadow of Ezra, this guy, that footage from 14 to 16, I think it's obvious they're on ice as proven by the his partner sliding in a way where his left foot loses traction. That just doesn't happen on pavement in that way. Unless he's wearing like slippers.
It could just be wet. I don't think this has to be ice. Like the guy's hand is on a moving vehicle. Like people slip and slide and fall on dry pavement. Like that happens. But like, if
When
anything,
have
it
you ever
looks
like had your foot fully swept out from under you on like wet pavement, or maybe wet pavement? It doesn't seem to be raining here, but even if it's wet, that still supports my narrative because it proves that he's in a lower friction environment, allowing him to have that pivot from a lower impact force.
like the officer in the back that you're telling me to look at, like his body movements, everything are wacky as well. You don't think the officer in the back got hit, right?
No, well, I mean, he'd probably get dragged by having his hand through the window, but that's very different than the impact facing the first officer. But once again, like obviously you can see that he is moved because his hand is in the windshield, but the first officer's impact is far more substantial. Like I don't think the second officer would have had just force use.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have 1 second. You've seen all of like the DHS handbook and everything else where like an officer is never supposed to be in front of a vehicle, right?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of evidence that shows that this was not a correct way to behave as law enforcement. Like, and not legally, but in terms of like tactics. Like, this is not a recommended tactic, I don't believe.
Okay, but then if he's standing outside of like department protocol, that's going to count against him even more when it comes to a justifiable shoot here. No?
No, there's no like prohibition. Like if you stand in front of a vehicle, like he's not like disobeying his like police orders and then creating a situation. He's allowed to walk in front of a vehicle, have the vehicle reverse, and then drive into him, clipping him, and then react in self-defense. Or I guess not even clipping him. It rotates him pretty substantially. But I mean, it was a like I'd say the left half of his torso fully made collision.
Okay.
But,
and you're comfortable with that analysis, even if there's no hospital evidence, no bruising, nothing will ever be published that would support that narrative?
Yeah, I see a couple of reasons why I'm comfortable with that. He's wearing very padded clothing. He's a, I guess, heavier set guy. I don't know how that would impact it specifically, but that would definitely decrease the odds of like any broken rib. Although I may believe that bigger people bruise easier. I don't know the full.
Well, it would have to be a bigger person would have to bruise a bit easier because it would take even more force to move them that much, right? Like if it was a kid,
yeah,
a kid could easily be spun without much force, but the larger the person, the more force you would need to spin them, right?
But if you're standing on ice and you're like right foot's on ice, it's really not difficult for me to spin you by pushing on like a half of your body because your foot is on ice, so pivoting is really easy because you're in a reduced like friction area. It's kind of like how if you're on like a like if you're wearing socks in your house, like you can easily kind of do like a circular spin by just like turning in a way that you couldn't if you were like standing on pavement.
Sure, but I can make that same argument then in saying that if your hand is on the hood, you can be spun around as well just as easily.
Yeah, but the footage reflects that he got hit. I think.
Okay.
I mean, you can argue. Like, you can argue that he could have just like gripped the hood and like rotated himself, but that seems wildly inaccurate, not reflected by the footage.
Well, you say that, but I think the only footage that you had that even kind of sort of made your argument was the really low grainy one, the super low resolution one. But even at that, again, unless he was literally Michael Jackson, boots on the ground doing a crazy lean, it looked like he was just, his hand was on the hood of the car.
Yeah, I think that the second one, I think you can very clearly like see a frame wherein his like the front left half of his torso, and like at frame 3, I think even though it's grainy, like the higher fidelity version U-linked helps a lot, but you can see his torso fully hit by the car and then react in a way that is not like, wait, actually, hold on, the hand thing doesn't even make sense here because his hand is outstretched in front of him. Like there's no like he doesn't move after the car moves away with his hand dragging him.
Wait. Which video are we talking about?
Okay, the video you sent me, the better quality version of the roof footage. That
okay.
One.
Wait. Hold on.
Was like, yeah.
Was that the last one I sent? Yes.
Yeah. This also doesn't work for the hand argument because if his hand is placed on the front of the vehicle, and the force would not be imparted by his hand like getting dragged because he makes the movement before the vehicle has moved away.
Wait. Not gonna, wait. I need to find the one. Wait. Which one was the one I sent you? Hold on. What?
It's the last one that is like the Section 21 status. It's
I see.
not
Okay.
applicable.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, you're saying this doesn't support the hand thing because of what reason?
I mean, okay, so if you look at it just like visually, the argument of like his hand dragging is what turns him. The physical movement of being dragged would be like a way later instance. Because if you have your hand outstretched and then someone like you would crumple more than you would like your hand would crumple more than you would strong arm your hand and allow your hand to turn your entire body. Because that's a very like obviously it's a risky motion because there's a car accelerating. He seems startled by going, oh. So I think it's really unlikely that he induced a turn, and almost physically impossible that he induced a turn with his arm being that like hard locked out forward.
Well, yeah, he's pivoting. He's pivoting with his hips, and his hand is on the hood, and he reaches out to do his 3 shots. Like all of this, I think
your argument is not that the movement occurred from his hand. Your argument is the hand was on the car and then he pivoted by like himself.
No, there's like a combination of both. Like his hand is on the hood, the car starts to go forward, and then he's moving and he's moving. So he's both the car is moving him and he's kind of moving at the same time. His hand is coming forward and he's shooting his shots. Yeah, that just seems way more obvious than he got hit somehow, was able to hold on to his phone almost the entire time, shot 3 times, 2 of them from the side.
So what do you think is happening in frames 3 to 4, wherein he's rotating, matched exactly with the speed of the vehicle as it's proceeding? Do you believe that he has like perfectly mirrored the vehicle's speed as he's rotating by his own action? Like
wait, from 3 to 4 seconds? Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait, does he even actually move? Or does he just turn to the side as the car's passing him? Hold on. I don't even know if he's... I just feel like his hand is on the hood, and he's just kind of like turning to the side and then shooting at her. He kind of loses his balance a little bit because as the car is moving and his hand is on the hood, it's kind of like weird, but I don't think he's getting... I don't think the car is smashing into his body and causing him to rotate at all. Like, he seems like pretty in control the whole time. He feels comfortable getting those other 2 shots off as soon as she's like past him.
Is it not suspicious to you, though, that exactly as the car, like, regardless of him being offset, because the argument is that he would have been, like, depth-wise in a way that we cannot see positioned behind the vehicle, right? So, is your argument that he pivoted exactly as the, like, physical image of the car?
Well, I don't know if it's exactly as. I feel like his leg is moving even a little bit before. If I look at this video that I sent, like, it looks like he's moving his leg at around 3 to 4 seconds, and then the car passes him by. Like, at what time here do you think the car is hitting him?
I think the car hits him almost exactly 3 seconds. And while his leg may be moving, which would be reactionary, his body, like partially reactionary, obviously I think later it's induced, his torso is fully stationary until the point where it would be exactly made collision. Like, until the point where, in my narrative, wherein the depth is, I guess, less offset than you think, he would have just made collision. That's a really, really crazy coincidence for it to have been like a Matrix dodge with his hand on the front of the car. Like, this combination of events seems so much less likely than the fact that maybe when the car moved to be visually connecting with him, it actually just connected and imparted the force that we see visually.
Hold on.
I feel like your argument's a logical leap.
Well, that's also supported by the hospital report and everything else, but... Do you agree at 3 seconds that he's leaning on the car?
Let me see. Hold on. Gotta pull back up the footage. 3 seconds on the one we were just looking at. Okay, hold on. Do I agree that he's leaning on the car? I think that he is. Let me see. Like, his hand is really hard to see. I can't tell if that's his firearm.
I'm looking at his legs. Aren't both of his legs like?
No, he definitely braces. Like, he definitely braces for impact by like placing his weight on the car that is hitting him. But like, if you think about it just logically, if the car is coming at you,
no, that, like at 3 seconds. So I think before the car is even at his body, yeah, his hand is like on the vehicle.
I think that as the car is coming, he probably intuitively puts his hand out, like in like a really like kind of like how when you try to catch yourself while falling, but like break your wrist. Like, I think he probably pushed himself puts his hand in front of the car. Almost
Well,
like a stop,
intuitively,
stop,
I would
stop kind of
probably.
thing,
I
and
think
then,
most people would just keep walking and not stand in front of a car. I think that would be what most people would do if they see it backing up, like it's about to pull out.
maybe so, but it seems like it wasn't the choice he chose to take. And I think it's legally allowed still. But either way, like, I think he probably puts his hand out and like touches the. I think it's visually really likely that his left hand touches the car before it makes direct contact with his body. Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you think that do you think Kristi Noem should be fired for making false statements about this before any information had come out?
What is her statement?
I think that the car was trapped in snow and that the lady was like violently attacking them and all whatever. I can find the exact statement if you want. You're not familiar with? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Are you not familiar with Kristi Noem's statements whatsoever on this incident?
I mean, I've watched through like some of the statements, but I mainly have just focused on like watching all the sources, reading the articles about it. I try not to listen to too many admin statements. I just try to get the general like, what is their narrative? I'll watch some clips about it, but I find that the long form admin statements, like unless they contribute new news that appears in articles, is kind of just like, I don't know, like I don't know what better adjective, like masturbatory, just like hearing what you want to hear. I don't really. I try to avoid most of that.
If she had made statements about how the car was trapped in ice and the lady was boxing them in with her vehicle and was viciously attacking the cops, do you think that she should step down for those statements or be impeached?
I mean, I would say step down is a strong word, but I think if it's inaccurate, she should issue a correction, surely, yeah. But I'd have to read.
Well, it's not that it's inaccurate, also, right? It's that it's a complete and total lie. Don't you think that is a little bit worse to completely and totally lie about a thing rather than just make inaccurate statements?
Yeah, if she's lying publicly, then that's definitely a bad thing. And I'd say that firing may be the extreme measure unless it's a long pattern of behavior. But I'd have to see all of the evidence. But if it's a fully factually incorrect statement, then obviously I think like anyone, she should issue a correction.
If it was a complete and total bold-faced lie, do you think that she should step down for that? Not just an inaccurate statement, but she completely and totally lied.
Well, we can't speak for her intentions. We don't know if she had all the information, but
you can't. You don't know. Wait. I just want you. I like to hear these statements because they're so ridiculous. You're telling me that it's impossible for us to determine if somebody's lied. We can never know that. People are just wrong or right. We have no idea if somebody's lying or not.
Not impossible. You can definitely determine someone's lying, but I don't know like what her briefing was. I don't know who said what. Like she could have been fed false information. She could have like made a misstep. It would take a lot more to make a character assessment of the individual. But I could definitely say that if she has a pattern of behavior and we have proof that she's lying, like there's messages that leaks that said like I don't care about what's true, then obviously that's a really bad look for any official. Yeah.
Okay, give me like 5 minutes. Let me find this video. Hold on. I gotta look for it 1 second.
Gotcha.
You asked to.
Okay, here you go. 1 sec. We can start this at the same time.
Gotcha.
Let me know when you're ready. It should be a minute 23, and then we'll start at the same time. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Wait, 1 minute and 23, or what did you say?
Let me know when you're ready.
Do you want to start now?
Or we'll start at the same time. Okay. Ready, set, go.
You asked about a shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was.
Well, I'm pausing quick.
Okay.
She said that she tried to ram the vehicle.
Well, she said that the ICE people were stuck in the snow. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and that this woman attacked them, rammed them. Right? These statements are probably resignment worthy. No.
And ram them with her vehicle. So I want to make sure I see the full clip. Sorry.
Okay.
Shot.
Are you listening to something again, or did you push play again?
I push play again. Sorry. Hold on.
What? Oh, okay. I'll just listen.
Continuing to
Now
gather
she's just talking about how
more
we go through.
information.
Is there anything
but
past the
this
point where she
scope
says that it happens every day?
to
like, whatever, all
show
that stuff, or-
the assaults that
Hold
our
on.
ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day. These vehicle rammings are domestic acts of terrorism. We're working with the Department of Justice to
vehicle
prosecute
rammings.
them as such. We will continue to protect our ICE officers and in cooperation with other law enforcement agencies as well. You've seen me in the last couple...
Okay. She should probably be fired for these comments, right?
I wouldn't say fire, but it definitely is troubling. I mean, if it's a false statement...
I don't know what you mean when you say
area
it's
where, like,
troubling. If do you have an animal?
Yes.
Okay, if I were to come and fuck your animal, would you say that's troubling, that's bad, it's not good? Or would you have like some consequence or accountability for me? I don't know. When you keep saying like, well, that's troubling, that's bad, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to interpret that.
Obviously, and I know it's like a harsh analogy. That's way different. So I could say like consequences. Like this comes down to me not understanding the internal system of how. And I'd say that I don't know everything about like what information you have on this, but I think that neither of us are capable of knowing how she got her information, where she got her information from, or.
So she has. So then this is a mouthpiece position that has absolutely no accountability, no responsibility. The buck stops with nobody.
Okay, the vast majority of like these like public facing cabinet positions, a lot of it is just delegating tasks and then being like a administrative I guess how do I put it? Like a voice for your administration. I'd say that whoever like propagated the false claim, I really doubt that Christine Ohm was sitting in the room, got the call saying like, this is what happened, and she said, all right man, like fuck this shit, I'm gonna go up here and just like start totally just lying out of my ass. I'd say that she probably was fed false information, because first off that just seems like a bad maneuver, like a poor situation, because like I mean it would have been just more accurate to say someone was in the car, they fired back. But I'd say that definitely the fact that the misinformation traveled up the chain and then got out in this way is definitely bad.
Okay, so then somebody should be fired, or
somebody should be reprimanded. Firing is a really strong term, but I think somebody who's liable for the misinformation being like a pass up the chain probably should have some level of reprimandation. Yeah, but like it's more so just I'd have to be acquainted with the system. Like I can't make a value call on her. I can't make a value call on like any specific person. But I can say anywhere wherein like false information is being propagated, there needs to be some measure taken to like resolve it. Obviously.
Okay.
But I think a corrective statement would be nice. Although I guess at this point everyone already knows like the factual statement, but vehicle being stuck in ice, like, I don't believe that's I think that's false. I think hit them is deceptive. But I guess if we go into like the individual lies, the domestic terrorism thing, like that's I guess like a harsher way to put it, but I mean it's I definitely wouldn't call that a lie, just like a difference in opinion over like how you'd classify it.
Well, to be clear, no, that's a total fucking lie, right? There's no evidence that this lady is a part of some terrorist group or is a part of or was even intentionally trying to kill anybody or whatever. We have no clue, because domestic terrorism is a statement of intentionality now, for sure, regardless of whether or not the shoot was fair or not, right? All of those things are lies.
I guess you're right. Terrorism is a question of intentionality, but you could argue if someone's there to disturb, obviously then they have like a motive against the organization, then they commit like an act of deadly force. This is all like very semantic. I probably would not make this statement personally, but I would definitely argue that it's not like this to me is not a lie. I wouldn't argue that's a lie at all. I'd argue you don't have to be in an organization to be a terrorist. You don't have to be I guess like would you say, is it okay to call like all the Gen 6 people, could I call them domestic terrorists? Would that be a fair statement? I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about like J6. Like I don't know about like who did what. To be fully honest,
a bunch of people broke into the Capitol. There was a riot. Why can't I call them domestic terrorists? Right? They were trying to impede a government process. They managed to delay the certification of the vote.
I guess like J6 people. There was. Well, I mean, they didn't kill anybody. It's a big difference.
The only person who killed somebody here was an ICE agent. So the only domestic terrorist by that qualification would be the ICE agent. So again,
the argument is that the Renee was trying to kill someone.
Trying to means nobody got killed, right? So
yeah, but intention, like it doesn't matter if you succeed to be a terrorist. Like, yeah, I can try and like blow up your house, but I'm still like a terrorist. I guess not, but if you're a president, like or a candidate.
Okay, so there was no killing, right? We could argue that on January 6th they might have killed congressmen if they would have gotten their hands on them. We don't know that. But we have
if the intention is verified on that, then they're definitely terrorists. Yeah, if they're trying to kill.
You need to verify an intention to call somebody. What about when they were all outside screaming "Hang Mike Pence"?
I mean, but that logic that you don't know, whether the individuals in the Capitol were the ones screaming it, and definitely bad rhetoric. But those are differences in actions. Like really messed up rhetoric. You can't. I don't think you can conflate like really bad rhetoric to like being like a terrorist. But either way, I would personally not argue that she was a domestic terrorist. But I don't think it's a lie. Like that's what I'm saying. But I think it's a kind of.
Do you agree that Fauci didn't lie or make any bad statements or whatever when he was the NIH head under Trump?
This is like I guess this is one area, like I know like for a lot of older like MAGA people this is like a big area to like kind of catch them up, but for me I'm far more like ideological, and I'm younger to the point that I haven't been as like unbelievably active in the news cycle for like events prior to I guess like prior to like the last like 2 years or so. I haven't really had like my knowledge base there is too low. Like I don't know of very many lies, but I know that I've heard people who I consider reputable say that there were. So I would be unqualified to speak on that. Yeah, I'm far more ideological than I am like capable of arguing every single like. You can cherry pick. We could go back. Someone older could argue with me about like I guess how to put like specific Obama administration stuff. But obviously I would not be acquainted with that. The same way that you might not remember like or you wouldn't be able to argue like areas of like Nixon's presidency.
Okay.
I'm like I just turned 19 yesterday, so I'm a little bit younger, so it's harder for me. Because all of the events I'm not always been unbelievably active in the news cycle at every point in my life for the entirety of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess I would say that part's definitely. But the big lie is of the video that I'm seeing is they weren't stuck in the snow. I don't believe that's true.
Well, they weren't stuck in the snow. She wasn't trying to ram their vehicles. Any evidence of her being part of a domestic terrorist thing. Trump's truths out that she was part of a domestic terrorist organization or whatever. Like all of these statements were lies. Noam Christie's or Christie Noam has continued to make statements about this. I think she just had a Jake Tapper interview. I haven't watched it yet, but it's 10 minutes from yesterday apparently, where she continues to defend that position. But apparently, according to you, nobody in the administration has any responsibility or accountability for any of the statements they make ever beyond maybe correcting them at some point, which she won't. She'll never correct the statement ever. But
yeah, I think that's a precedent's been set that's bad. I think like corrective statements is not something that makes you look weaker, but I think it is important to correct things that are incorrect. But
but you have this position. This is the most tepid, like feckless position ever, that you have to correct statements that are incorrect, but they're not incorrect statements. It's just a lie. This is just a lie.
I do not believe that you are adequately equipped to say that. I don't think you have the
If she continued, well, I know the administration has a history of lying about basically everything they can. This lie feeds right into their ideological narrative that all of these people are funded protesters and all this other bullshit. I mean, like, it's very obvious. Like I said, like I can't prove it, obviously, and you'll never admit it, but like if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be very keen and very quick to admit or say that if it was a Democratic administration, they're lying about this, they're lying about that. But now I'm getting the insane take that cabinet level people have no responsibility for the statements they make, save to just correct statements that are incorrect. Are you familiar with like the Rittenhouse shooting and stuff?
Yeah.
You know that like everything that came from Rittenhouse, all of that also stemmed off of a bullshit video that some guy was filming some guy getting into a car that got shot by officers, and people made it sound like it was like an innocent black guy that was getting harassed by police. But when more information came out about the guy, it was like, one, the guy isn't even dead, and then two, the guy was like about to fucking flee a woman's kids, and he'd already been like convicted of sexual assault and shit, and he had a knife in the car. It was like really bad. But all of the protesting and violence that came off of that eventually culminated in the Rittenhouse shootings also came from a bullshit analysis of a partial video. So it seems a little bit insane to me that we could come out and make statements that are this fucking every single time this administration speaks. Do you admit that this administration, when they speak, the goal is always to divide and demonize? That there has never been a cabinet level or presidential level statement to try to like get people to calm the fuck down. It's always been to castigate and attack and villainize the other side.
I don't know. All of these I guess how do I put collective motive assigning statements to me are very difficult. I think in politics people act in their own interest, and whatever's in their own interest typically will materialize at a really high level. But I'm far more concerned with like ideologically individual actions.
Can you tell me what was in Biden's own interest when he condemned the attempted assassination of Donald Trump and was assigning him additional Secret Service personnel? What was in Biden's own interest for that?
So much. I mean, he would seem absolutely like a tyrannical like dictator. That'd be insane. I mean,
why is it that when Trump?
If Gavin Newsom was assassinated, would it not be in Trump's interest to try and like assign more personnel to him?
But he doesn't. Trump literally removed additional Secret Service personnel from Democrats as soon as he came into office.
Wait, okay, so is your argument that Joe Biden was, I guess, cooperating with Trump when he had like had one of the most high-profile assassination attempts in recent years because Joe Biden was like just a moral person acting in the opposite of
Yeah.
self-interest?
My argument was that Joe Biden is a moral good man, and Donald Trump and all of the people around him are actual evil, demonic fucks. Yeah, and it's like super obvious if you remove like the political partisan blinders. It's like very, very obvious from every angle. Kash Patel making statements about the Tyler Robinson guy before they had any information about it. The guy might beat his trial because this guy was so stupid in terms of tweeting out stuff about this ongoing shooting event, like 2 hours later saying they'd caught the suspect and everything else. Like, there's a reason why his lawyer and Robinson haven't made any statements related to anything. Like, yeah, this is incredibly irresponsible. It's politically divisive for the goal of being politically divisive, and it's bad. It's evil shit. Like, better men, better people wouldn't do this. Like, good people wouldn't do this stuff. It's all like a partisan game bullshit to these people. But that's like so painfully, I can't even believe I have to say this. It's like so obviously true. Like, we can find Trump's truth about this. He doesn't even need to make a statement. It's the president of the United States. Why is he tweeting out or truthing out that she's a domestic terrorist or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you go down the rabbit hole of like administrative statements, I think that many administrations.
Why are you saying rabbit hole? Like, there's so much confusion, and you're just so incapable of evaluating critically any statement made by somebody who's part of the administration. How is it a rabbit hole?
I can absolutely critically evaluate the statements. I can say Kristi Noem's statement being incorrect is bad. It is bad that it was publicly said, but I'm not going to make like a judgment call on the entirety. You're extrapolating agencies having false statements or cabinet officials having false statements into like a moral call over the character of the entirety of the administration being seeking like active division and takeover. To me, this is such a wild escalation in mentality.
But it's not, because
that is actually untrue.
The level of the statement, well, the factual
America and wants to divide the country.
The factuality of the statement, the type of fact we're talking about, probably matters, right? So, like, if she were to say that this shooting happened in Chicago and got the place wrong, then that's not a big deal. Or that the car was a different type and got that wrong, that's not a big deal. Or that the cop fired one shot instead of three, or four shots instead of three, maybe not a big deal. But when the lies, it's not like she just has random facts wrong. It's every single fact agrees with the pre-selected narrative that this administration has been trying to shove down everybody's throats for a year. That's not just wrong information. There's a very clear ideological driving push for where every single statement is coming from, right? How many years have we heard all of the MAGA people say that there's like this coordinated paid campaign to get protesters paid by Soros and everybody else to come and be professional? I think Trump might even call this lady a professional agitator. I'll have to go find his truth on it, or if somebody in chat can link it.
Do you not believe there's any paid protesters at all?
I've heard this claim for a decade, and I've seen zero proof of it ever. And I've seen proof of it happening.
Have you not seen clips of people like, this is like a topic where I guess I'm not, my knowledge base is definitely significantly lower than you hear, but have you not seen the footage of people interviewing people who are like paid protesters?
Proof.
Or
I need proof.
The same,
I don't try.
The same
I don't.
who provably agree that they're like administratively running it. Like, you don't think so?
No. I don't think a James O'Keefe Project Veritas slop clip of 12 seconds or some highly edited 10-minute video or if you're talking about the thing that was Sora AI that even Trump was retweeting the other day.
So the standard.
Wait. Are you talking about Are you talking about the video recently where the guy said he like didn't have a job? And he was out there.
No, I'm not speaking to any specific clip. I'm just saying I've seen multiple clips that all point in that direction. But even then, to me, that's like I guess I don't know. Like, obviously, people are demonstrating for protests, but I think there's some examples where protests are exacerbated. Like, you can go to assigning a motive. Is it a logical leap to say that for certain topics where people may not be that riled up, it is advantageous to manufacture a protest that will make it seem optically as though people are outraged, or maybe make it seem like people who are already outraged in some way should get involved more?
Yeah,
like,
you're describing the entire Republican Party right now. That's what they do when they get everybody riled up about trans people, or everybody riled up about Haitians or Somalis.
But
like, that's what just happened in Minnesota, right? With the Nick Shirley video. No, it's not both parties. I wish the left did this more at this point, but no. All of the largest protests, like 8 of the 10 last largest protests in the country, have happened under Donald Trump because of the shit that he says and because of the violence that he incites. Nobody forced Trump to send the National Guard to the states without their authority or consent, right?
So the blanket statement is denying, like, I guess all of the nuance. Like, there's many scenarios wherein, do you agree that there's any scenarios wherein the left has spread misinformation to make their, not never spread misinformation, but like deliberately placed, I guess, like divisive rhetoric that is designed to rile people up more than they reasonably should be?
Name one example.
Like, I think a good example is the attempting to make abortion a campaign issue of Kamala Harris.
You don't think women have strong feelings about abortion? You think that's a false issue?
They do, but what can she do about it?
Can try to get a law passed to make it so that abortion is a protected thing in all 50 states?
That wouldn't be an act of the president.
No, but the president can push for their Congress to do something. What do you mean? The president can cheerlead legislation from Congress?
That would be congressional vote. Like, I think making
Hold on,
that
wait. I need you. Hold on, wait. Before I move on, the president of the United States runs on a policy platform, right? That policy platform. Now, I understand you're younger, and maybe the young generation doesn't know this, but typically Congress does that. Now, I know that right now we have a dictator who thinks he can do everything just from the White House, but traditionally presidents run on policy platforms that require support from the Congress. When Trump ran on repeal and replace the ACA in 2016, that had to be done by Congress. Or when Trump runs on tax cuts, that has to be done by Congress. So typically, presidents will run on platforms that the Congress has to enact, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, I guess obviously
okay.
she could aid the issue, but that being the primary campaign promise, it's a very unlikely to resolve problem. And even then, or I would say it's not a problem. I think states' rights is the ideal situation for it, but that's like a...
Well, hold on, but that's... Debate. Well, yeah, but some people would say that the right for exactly. a mother to have an abortion...
By their definition, it's a problem. By mine, it's not.
Sure.
But either way, that's just semantic. But
also, when you say states' rights, I just want to check real quick. When you say states' rights, do you agree that state police force should have the authorization to any National Guard people deployed by the federal government against the consent of the governor of that state?
No.
So the states don't have rights then. So I don't know where you got the states' rights thing in your mind, but you acknowledge the Second Amendment was literally created. Hold on, wait. I just want to be clear. Constitutional Convention, the Second Amendment, right? That whole militia part that everybody likes to know, the whole reason why the Second Amendment exists was for states to protect their own interests from an over-encroaching federal police force or federal military to come in and overthrow like a state government, right? So
in the state of revolution, totally.
So what do you call it when the National Guard is deployed against the governor's wishes? When the National Guard is put against the governor's wishes by the President of the United States, how is that not just the government sending the army to your state to enforce whatever they want? Is that not a states' rights issue?
I mean, federal overrules states whenever there's federal policy.
Oh, so like if Kamala Harris would have gotten the Congress to pass a law saying abortion is now a protected right in all 50 states, then the federal law there would supersede all of the state laws then, right?
I believe that is the actual nature of governmental policy, right?
Well, I don't know. You were just arguing against it, saying this should be a states' rights issue. But now it seems you agree that
no, it should. Hold on. Should be versus can be. These are very different arguments. They can deploy They can deploy federal forces to states, overruling state forces.
Well, to be clear, they couldn't do that. That was illegal. That was an illegal deployment, right? And I think now the National Guard has been withdrawn from those states from the president forcibly deploying. You need the consent of the governor to do this, and we know this because during the BLM riots, Trump was complaining about governors not allowing him to send the National Guard there. So he knows that. We know that. That was an illegal deployment, and I think it's been basically adjudicated as such, except for in D.C., where the federal government is obviously that's their territory.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's an argument you can make. Well, either way, more so, I think the federal does supersede state. I guess I'd have to look at the individual clauses to see how resolved, but that's my understanding of the national system. In terms of the armed forces deployment.
Well, no, but your federal policing can do their federal policing, but you can't forcibly deploy a National Guard to a state without the governor's consent. You need the governor's consent to do that, unless the state is in rebellion or something.
I mean, yeah, maybe so. Well, I mean, arguably, because the state is in rebellion by not allowing for the enforcement. That's a bigger argument, though. But I don't know. For me, at least, additionally, this is not my area of expertise about the individual deployments of the National Guard. My main topic's ideological, and I think the ideological basis of the right is far more beneficial than the left.
How can you have an ideological basis if you don't know any of the process or procedure? The ideology is empty and hollow at that point.
How is that true? How is that
well, it's like me saying that I have the best approach to using firearms or guns, or I think I could be the best tactician ever, but I've never actually shot a gun before. How if you won't even know, right?
Wait, hold on. So, no, this is an ideological thing I'm making the argument of. I'm making the argument that the right generally, by ideology, is more beneficial than the left. This is obviously opening up a way different debate than I originally got on to cover, so it's
Well, yeah, but I think it kind of infects everything, because it seems like we've got because this ideology thing is allowing you to assign an unbelievable amount of responsibility to Democrats or attack them for things like Kamala Harris running an abortion because technically the president of the United States can't pass laws, but then it seems to release like everybody from your side from any amount of responsibility whatsoever when you have the president of the United States, his secretary of the Department of Homeland Security and everything making these like demonstrably false statements over and over and over again, like Donald Trump truthing out. I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator. He has no proof of that. He should be impeached for it. And the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer, who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Based on the attached clip, it is hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety, but the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are trying to do the job, blah, 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 right? All of this statement is a lie. Nobody told him this. He just said he watched the video and he saw this. What the was he watching?
Well, I guess I'd say, listen, as far as Trump goes, Trump says regularly inflammatory things that may be...
Not inflammatory, lies. These are wrong things. Why do you do that? If I your dog in the is that an inflammatory thing that you would say is like bad?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
That's all you would say.
Oh well, wait. No, I obviously say it's reprimandable, but that's
what you would say. It's reprimandable. You would watch me your dog, your squealing dog, who's crying and screeching in front of you, and you'd be like, that's pretty bad, but I don't know his intention.
It's a very vivid analogy.
Because this is very vivid right now. The president of your country is telling demonstrably false lies, trying to stoke civil war in the country, and you're like, well, I think this might be bad. I don't know.
Lies are a problem. More so than I'm like a Trump guy. There's many things Trump does that I disagree with. Many statements he said that I see as false. But I'm not necessarily a mouthpiece for Trump as much as I just am an ideological conservative. That's my main focus. And so obviously Trump is more representative of my ideology in terms of impact.
What part of your what is the one strongest part of your ideology that you feel like he represents?
That Trump represents? I mean, I just like think that well, I guess my big issue, this is like such a ambient debate now, but my big issue is so generally conservative. Like I'm a general conservative on most issues. Like I think it's important to maintain like a historical. I'm trying to pick an avenue to go down. I swear I have positions, but well, I guess. Like, what part of my ideology does Trump represent best, or like what parts does he represent? Like, because he's not fully representative of me at all. I think there's a lot of areas where I do disagree with him, but I think it comes down to like the lesser of two evils for me. But who
do you think would have been a bigger sock puppet for Netanyahu, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? Who got more money from? Okay, so he got way more money from huge Jewish donors. Okay, he got way more allegiance to Israel. He's willing to run the whole Middle East exactly what Netanyahu wants. Okay, so what part of your I'm just trying to figure out what part of your ideology here is like, oh, well, at least Trump represents us the best.
Well, I think he does, in general, prioritize. So this comes down to, and this is actually one area where I liked Biden more so, but I think that trying to focus on national, like, economic industry, like for the middle class, is very important to me specifically.
Okay, so he's like nuking different parts of our economy. The dollar has lost 10 to 20% of its value overseas. We're fighting trade wars apparently with every single country on the planet now. We are starting wars in multiple places. How is any of this supposed to be helping our economy?
Well, I'm disappointed the way the tariffs have panned out in some ways, but I think ideologically, from the point of voting in, I was interested in the idea. I mean, I think any solution to the like I guess the consequence of neoliberalism with the like erosion of the middle class is important to seek out.
Okay, and are we getting a middle class back
with seeking out? Also.
Sure. Are we getting? Do you think the huge tax cuts? Do you think that helped the middle class more? Or did it further the divide between the wealthiest and the poorest of this country?
I think it probably was negative in that way. I don't believe in trickle down. I don't follow that idea.
Okay, do you think that the deregulating of all like the whole crypto finance, all that stuff, is that helping the middle class?
I honestly would have to look more into that.
Do you think that like supporting H-1B visas for infinite Indians to come in and steal all the white people's jobs, do you think that's helping the middle class?
No, definitely not. Yeah, I definitely.
Okay, so Donald Trump said 20 to 30 million illegals came in, and he's I think gotten anywhere from 500,000 to 2 million deported in the first year, which is probably gonna be the most aggressive year. Is that like what? Like I don't understand how what part of
the illegal thing absolutely I believe helps the American people in every way.
Yeah, but if 30 million came in according to him, that was the last number he cited.
That's the big. That's I don't know why I was floundering there. That's the big issue is illegal immigration, not like a. Not the economic thing.
Okay, so he said 30 million came in, and their numbers, the favorable numbers, are 2 million are gone. So that's 28 million additional ones that are in the country. So hasn't he completely and epically and totally failed there?
28 million, 30 million illegal immigrants came in?
Under Biden, that's what he says, yes.
Yeah, and then 2 million. Oh, no, the deportation totals are definitely not sufficient.
They're less than Obama's, right?
Huh?
They were less than Obama's deportation. Obama was a better
Obama
deporter.
wasn't being actively impeded by the government trying to like stop him from even being able to exercise deportations.
Do you think maybe wait, actively impeded? He's the president.
Obama didn't have a competitive administration that was arguing like wouldn't even use the word illegal to describe illegal immigrants. Like Joe Biden got pushback from that.
So why doesn't Trump try to like work with the governors and work with Congress better? Why does he make an enemy out of every? I thought he was supposed to be a leader. Why does he make an enemy out of every single section of the government?
Who do you think set themselves into opposition to Trump when it comes to trying to deport illegals? The governors or Trump? Do you think Trump made that opposition in order?
Yes.
You think that the other governors were happy to work on mass deportations, and Trump just provoked them into not being willing to do that?
Yes.
That's to me totally ridiculous.
Okay, well here's a question. So if I point to the Trump plan and I see all of the stoking of racial flames of crazy random shit, the Haitians eating the dogs and the trying to foment all this hysteria around like Tren de Aragua and MS-13 or whatever, and then I look at them celebrating like the opening of like Alligator Alcatraz, and then you're asking me, do you really think they're trying to just make an enemy out of Americans that are opposed to this? How is that not the case? Of course.
Yeah, wait, so rhetoric that is pro-deportation of illegal immigrants means that you are not allowed to, like, it means that's putting people in opposition who you would say would arguably already be willing to deport illegal immigrants?
Why would you water it down to rhetoric of pro-deportation? Alligator Alcatraz. No, it's that when you show an amount of cruelty, when you're trying to accomplish a thing, people are probably going to be less likely to go with you on that, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
Okay, so as the president, do you think maybe he should stop acting like a 15-year-old TikToker and should maybe like act like an adult male?
This actually is another area where we definitely agree, because I think there's a lot more commonality than you'd think. But when it comes to the illegal immigration deportations, I think there's a level of like a kind of demonstrated complacency from many people where it's like they're trying to make you as a conservative, or me as a conservative, like people like me who want to see big mass deportations. Obviously the numbers aren't where we want them to be, so I think there's a level of like trying to put cruelty out there and demonstrate cruelty to make people more like, yeah, this is going on, like, yeah, get out. Like I see that where people are like, we're getting it done, have you seen these videos, when the numbers are obviously lower than they should be. And that's a strategy that to me I find to be kind of facetious, but I can agree with you there. Yeah,
imagine if he was elected president, and imagine he said, we're going to go to every state and we're going to voluntarily request from every state, from their prisons, people who are here illegally with felony or higher charges. I feel like that could be an instantaneous, every red state is going to agree, obviously. I think there'd be a heavy pressure on blue states. Why are you fighting the president on deporting criminals who have committed felonies, right? I think that would be like an easy thing. You don't need an Alligator Alcatraz. You don't need Kristi Noem, the subhuman demonic witch standing in front of cages filming stupid videos. Like you could just do this, and I feel like there are so many ways. Like Obama deported a ton of people and didn't seem to get the same type of pushback, but Trump revels in the divisiveness and in the aggression and in stoking the flames of civil war in this country. He did, with the truth I read to you earlier, he was doing it. He does it constantly. I don't know how you can't see that.
The Obama not opposing or not experiencing divisiveness is ridiculous to me. Opposition. Sorry. Obama obviously didn't experience opposition because it hadn't been like adopted as like a pro-Democrat strategy to support the like illegal invasion. That was not a problem.
There's no pro-Democrat strategy to support an illegal invasion. What are you talking about?
Do you believe that the Democrats are preoccupied with trying to make mass deportations happen? Or do you believe they're more preoccupied with leaving the border open and eventually building towards codification? Which do you think is more likely?
I don't think anybody wants to leave the border open. Here's something that I know to be true. Here's something that I know to be true. If the bill that Biden had supported and the rest of the Democrats eventually supported, that was authored by a Republican senator for immigration, if that bill would have been supported at the end of Biden's term, instead of Trump pulling the plug on it from out of the office, saying, I want to keep this open to run on the election on, if that bill would have passed, we would have less illegal immigrants today in the country than we do right now, with none of all of this drama with ICE and everything else. So we wouldn't have had to 10x the ICE budget. We wouldn't have everybody protesting and shooting each other and running over each other in the fucking streets. None of this shit would be happening. We'd have less people in this country. We would have processed all the asylum people by now. It would have been way better. But instead, we're never getting a bill on it, right? And I talked to 100 fucking Republicans before that. None of these fucking cowards, Kaizen and all these on Twitter are going to admit it now. But I asked all of them, if Trump doesn't have a bill on immigration by the end of his term, are you going to say it was a failure? None of them are going to come out and say that now, but he won't. right? So it would have been better under Biden, a second term, than it is now for illegal immigration.
I'm comfortable saying that's a failure. I'm comfortable saying that's a failure. But I can say the bigger failure is the people who didn't even the administration that made very little effort. And you talk about the bipartisan border bill. The bipartisan border bill allowed a minimum of how many crossings was it per week before shutdown was instituted? That sets a precedent for allowing some level of invasion into my country. That's not really something that I'm interested in.
Sure, but the thing is that you guys don't care about that. This was never a real problem to you. This was, like you said before, how Democrats find fake problems, and you said abortion, which is a very real ideological problem. The illegal immigration problem in the United States is not a real problem to Republicans. And I know it's not a real problem, because if it was, you guys would have been clamoring for a better deportation program, but it never came. You guys didn't give a fuck about it. It's all just memes and shit.
Right now for it. I mean,
I don't care about you personally. I'm just saying in general.
You can argue with Trump's ghost right now, but he's not here. I'm here, and I can say that I
don't care about you. I care about the fact that you supported Donald Trump, so I'm going to argue about Donald Trump, not just you, because you're supporting Trump.
I think he was a better candidate.
You are an unequivocal supporter of Donald Trump because you vote for him. Well, I don't know if you voted last time if you were 18 or not, but if you vote for him, it's a vote for the administration. Sure. So, but if you support the administration, that's a binary. You vote or you don't vote for the person, right? So if somebody's supporting Donald Trump, I understand that on the granular, I understand that you can agree or disagree with different positions he has. I get that. I'm just saying that Donald Trump seems to fail on every single promise. His first year's been a fucking disaster. The president of No New Wars has renamed our Secretary of Defense to the Secretary of War, and now we're starting wars potentially in 2 or 3 different places.
We're throwing out like a million rabbit holes here. I want to stick on the illegal immigration. Do you think that Kamala Harris, so we talked about Trump being a failure for mass deportations, talking about not proposing the bill you talked about where it's or the policy where it's deporting all the criminals, but who do you think would have done a better job of mass deportations starting the 2024 administration?
Harris.
Kamala Harris, or you really believe that Kamala Harris would have had more than 2 million mass deportations this year?
Yeah, for sure. If they would just needed to pass that border, the bill that they had before, and they would have been able to chew through all of the asylum stuff. Yeah, 20 times faster, of course.
You actually do you fully really good faith?
100%. The vast majority of the people that came here
would have 2.1 million.
The vast majority of the people that came here, quote unquote, illegally, were abusing the asylum seeking process over COVID. And what we needed was more.
How would Kamala Harris's base, which the rhetorical stances, which are very common of no one's illegal on stolen land, or we need pathways to citizenship. How would this base respond to
these
Kamala
things
Harris
that you're talking about? These things you're talking about, these are conservative memes of people on the left. The average person on the left is not doing Canadian land acknowledgements and saying there are no stolen people on land or no illegal people on stolen.
I got a pretty good post. I mean,
listen, I love you and I appreciate it, but you do campus debates. These are. I'm not trying to attack you. Okay, I'm not saying that. Okay, but I'm just saying that younger people or kids have more radical positions. But that's not your average Democrat voter is not the person going to a college campus debate. This is why Charlie Kirk liked debating these fucking people, because he knew they weren't representative of the average person. And by the way, I do college debates. Right? You see me, I go to some of these places. Okay, I have no problem doing them. Yeah. Now I have to do it because most of the conservatives that exist today are spineless fuck. They can't defend any part of this administration, so they don't. They hide in their fucking holes and occasionally pop their head up to cry about fucking Israel or some shit. But that's it. But the average college kid is not representative of the average voter. On the right or the left?
Yeah, I would agree so, but that's definitely representative of a large portion of the base. Do you not think so?
No. And we can look at Harris's background. What was Harris? She was a district attorney. She was attorney general, and then she was in the Senate. And she said it was part of her campaign rhetoric that we have to have borders and we have to, enforce our immigration stuff. And Biden supported a bill while Kamala Harris was vice president. Do a good job of what?
Securing the border?
No, because they had legislation that wouldn't pass it.
Wait, okay, so you think that because Kamala, or because the legislation that was passed, the bipartisan border bill, would have codified that we should have had I think it was, I forget how many thousands of illegal immigrants allowed per week. You think that because that wasn't accepted, Kamala Harris did a good job of securing the border?
Because Kamala Harris was the vice president.
It was just out of her hands. I don't know. Nothing. Well, okay, but she could have pulled for it. The same way that she could have pulled.
They tried to. They had a bill that would have assigned. There would have been a cap on how many people could even come over. There would have been a 3 times increase in the amount of asylum judges and everything to adjudicate these cases to get these people the fuck out of here. For all the came up I'm an asylum seeker or whatever. Yeah, we would have chewed through that backlog way quicker. We might even be done with it by now. Yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, but then we just get a new amount of 4,000 to 5,000 per week, and that would be normalized.
Why do you keep saying 4,000 to 5,000 per week? What the bill did was before there was no cap. What the bill would have done is if a certain amount came in, then if over 4,000 or 5,000 a week came in, then the administration could say no more asylum seekers at all. That was the whole point, was that the bill would cap it if too many came in, to say if this many came in over the course of a week or whatever, then you could say no more come in now. Before, the cap was nothing.
Well, so do you think that if that went through, then people would not have been willing to So you think that if that bill went through, then there would never have been, then there would have been like another bill that made the cap lower, or would it just stay there forever?
No, I think what would have happened is once we got through the backlog of all the asylum-seeking people wouldn't come into the country illegally anymore through the asylum process. What happened was when people realized, like, oh shit, their asylum system is backed up, so if I come in and I claim asylum, they're going to give me a slip saying I have to show up at court, right? This is the catch and release thing, right? And then I can just hang out in the country until my fucking case gets called. Once people started to realize that little gimmick, like millions of people started coming and it's like, hey, I'm claiming asylum. Give me a slip and I'll be in court in a few days, or I promise, or a few weeks or a few months. But if that asylum backlog is basically eliminated and you come into the country and you're like, you want to claim asylum? Oh, cool. Well, we can see you fucking tomorrow. Way less people will do it because they're just going to get kicked out immediately. It's like, oh, I have a bullshit case.
Okay, wait, so I totally don't believe that it would have gone down after that was all solved.
Okay.
I think that this would have set I think that's a reasonable position to take. This would have made a long-term precedent. And I think it's a really bad solution to the problem. And I agree that maybe it would be better than the previous solution, but because it sets a standard that likely will not be brought down, it's
sets a
far
standard
worse
for
than
what?
For allowing that many crossings or allowing that many encounters per week. Like it's like allowing
You say it sets a
there's an
standard.
amount
The
that is
standard before was infinity. There was no cap before. All the bill did was it set an upper cap.
The standard was zero. The standard was zero.
No, that's not true. And how do you think millions of people came in illegally? It was by claiming asylum. Trump didn't have to deal with it with his last year because he was able to do the Title 42 thing and say, oh, it's a health emergency. Nobody can come in because of COVID. It wasn't because of Trump's brilliant border policies. The third year under Trump had more illegal immigrants coming into the country than the last 4 years under Biden. It's not like Trump was doing anything amazing at the fucking border. It was just he had Title 42 because COVID was happening. And then Biden came in, and then a whole bunch of people started to swarm the fucking border once the Title 42 shit was gone, and once people figured out the asylum hack, and a ton of people started abusing that. And then we had a piece of legislation, because believe it or not, Congress is the one that's supposed to do all this shit, that actually solve the problem and to put an upper cap, because sometimes there will be so many people coming in, you can say, hey, more than 5,000 come in, the cap is zero now for a week or two until we process these people. That would have been a real, actual solution for our, if you believed it was a real problem. But this is why I know that conservatives don't think illegal immigration is a real problem, because they don't have any real solutions for it. These are people who think you can send the National Guard to Chicago in 2 weeks and fix all crime, or that all crime is gone in D.C., or that the Donald Trump closing the border means there's been zero illegal immigrants entering the United States for the past 3 months. This is fucking no way the number is zero. I don't even believe that. That's crazy.
Extremely low, though. Do you not?
They don't say extremely low. They say zero. You think it's been zero?
Okay, listen, I'm not Trump, okay, but I can say.
But you're okay with them lying to you? Why are you okay with them lying to you about it? I don't understand why you're okay with it.
I'm not a diehard. Listen, okay, I'm not a diehard. Trump is not my religion. Like, I know that you have the view where, for some people, it's reasonable. It actually bothers me. But it's like where it's like this MAGA cult where like Trump is like my Lord and Savior. I disagree with him on numerous points. But what I can say is, regardless, the outcome is far more preferable. I focus far less on the moral, like, is the honesty there than what is the outcome right now. The outcome right now is that crossings are significantly lower. Whether or not Trump, being the exaggeratory person he is, who wants to inflate himself, objectively, that's his just common behavioral traits, whether or not he is pushing those numbers up through like saying it's actually zero or not, the crossings are lower. So that's what I'm focused on. I don't sit here and I don't sit here and read every tweet from Trump and say he's being slightly exaggeratory. Clearly, it's not an avid solution to the problem.
Every tweet from Trump, I'm just saying any statement, and he's not slightly exaggerating. He's lying to stoke. If it was the case that the president of the United States was lying to stoke the flames of civil tension until a civil war breaks out, would that be a really bad thing to you, or is that just kind of like I don't really watch his tweets much?
If the intention is civil war, yeah, but I don't think the intention is civil war.
When Donald Trump is labeling one side over and over again as all being radical domestic terrorists and paid agitators who are engaged in domestic terrorism, what do you think he's trying to do there?
Wait, hold on, sorry, my OBS just like tweaked out. Sorry, do you mind if I have a second? I have to fix this. Hold on. So can you repeat the question?
If Donald Trump keeps saying that everybody on the left is a radical terrorist, that all the Democrats are radical Democrats, and they're all engaged in domestic terrorism and insurrection against our federal law enforcement officers, what is he trying to do?
If he's trying to say, that's just a common like political over-exaggeration. I mean, I think
can you give a single example of any Democrat ever engaged in that type of rhetoric?
I mean, Destiny, earlier you were talking about how like
I'm not an elected politician. Try again. For any elected leader who's engaged in that rhetoric.
Okay, so engaged in rhetoric of criticizing one side, like in mass?
Is that what I said?
Criticizing the motive. Repeat the individual. Sorry, my OBS is being weird to get sidetracked. What is the individual?
Labeling everybody on the other side a domestic terrorist, saying all of the protests are paid agitators, implying that there's no legitimate grievance anywhere, saying that all the violence comes from radical leftist Dems, which apparently is all of Congress, like rhetoric that's on this level.
Okay, so can I break it down point by point? Okay, so first off, saying that there are, so he says that all of them are paid protests. He said that these are all paid protests.
Every Republican for like the past 10 years has claimed that this is a huge, widespread problem. Yeah, I think I saw Billy Johnson tweet on it today.
Okay, but that's not the same statement. That's a different statement. He didn't say they're all paid protests.
Not all. The most of them are applied. Sorry, when I say all, that was an exaggerated word. When I really meant
the violence
most.
is coming from radical.
Wait, hold on. But you agree that the statement that most of, or even half of all the protesters are paid, that's an insane statement to make, right? Because there's never been any proof of that ever, right?
So you think that saying that the protests are paid makes it like I guess what I put it, like is provoking civil war?
The one part of it, yes.
But so you think saying that paid protests are occurring is civil war, like that most protests are paid or whatever? I don't think he's even said most, but saying that protests are being paid off is civil war, like provocation.
Well, I said one part of it, yes.
Okay, that's to me like what do you mean one part of it? Yes, like that's
as in we're building towards it, right?
Okay, so that's one statement that's like exaggerating the amount of protesters that are paid. Okay.
Lying. That's a lie. That's not an exaggeration. That's a lie.
And then saying that leftists are that is an exaggeration because there are probably paid protests. I mean, I can say that there are paid protests. It would be ridiculously illogical to say there are not. So if he's saying that there are many, I do not in any way believe he said that there are all. But he's saying that there's a bunch of these paid protests. That is exaggerating.
I have seen absolutely zero evidence ever of any protesters being paid ever. I've never seen that.
Okay, do you not believe ideologically that because it is such a good incentive, well-incentive thing that is easy to do and legal to do you not believe that is definitely happening just out of like that
you're asking me one of like logical possibility. Like I'm sure there probably is somebody, I guess. I'm like, it would be stupid in a country of 340 million people to say nobody's. I'm sure somebody has been, but that's not his implication that somebody might have been. When they say it, they imply that they found it and they see it happening on a massive scale. I've never seen any evidence.
Lie, then.
What?
So it's not a lie then if he says that he has evidence of it being on a massive scale, right?
How would that not be a lie?
We don't know his evidence. Like you can't ascribe.
He has to show us the evidence. What do you mean? He's the president of the United States. You can't just make statements and not show anybody the evidence for your statements. Otherwise, then the president can make any statement he wants.
Okay, but he's saying okay, even then, okay, I guess that's a weak point. Actually, you won that one. Do you believe that there is a currently like on a person-to-person scale increased amount of violence on the left and the right?
On the left and the right?
Than the right.
Person to person? What do you mean by that?
Like on average. Do you think that on average most leftists are more willing to exercise violence than most conservatives? Or at least support it and endorse it on a partisan scale?
It's hard to say because it's not a very fair question. Because who would violently protest under Obama? What would you even do that he's like it's a weird question because like if you were to ask me who do you think has more like violent opposition like Hitler or Barack Obama? Well, probably Hitler. It's like, oh well, doesn't that show that Hitler's enemies are more violent? I mean, I guess, but it's like obviously because he's so much more provocateur than Obama would be. Same thing with Trump.
Well, let's talk about the difference in ideology. So this is about reaction to stimulus. So obviously through your ideology, Trump is a really bad person. Like I can agree.
I would say evil, but yeah.
Yeah, but and that would escalate to, the violent measures, I guess. But then if you go to like the right, like obviously, like a good example is a lot of right wingers consider like abortion to be genocide, right? Mm-hmm. Regardless of debating that individual topic, that's a really big like Hitler level problem, and yet right wingers do not follow like what you seem to believe is the ideological conclusion of wishing upon their opponents.
Literally multiple abortion clinics have already been shut up. Multiple abortion clinics have been shut up historically. That's something that does happen. It's not that common, but it does happen, number one. And number two, right-wingers now are happy. I think there was just another girl that died in Texas like a week or two ago of sepsis because the doctors couldn't perform an abortion or they were worried about committing murder. So, I mean, I feel like this, so it does happen on the right. Maybe not as commonly.
What percentage of conservatives do you think, like, can you not make like just say optical, like, I guess, I don't know, I'm the word just in my mind. Can you not make an assertion that probably it is occurring more on the left than on the right?
Potentially, But the issue is that the left doesn't get the administration to carry out their violent fetish fantasies for them, but the right does get their administration to carry out their violent fetish fantasies for them. So it's hard to make the comparison.
It's a direct comparison because to the right, where abortion's a genocide, when
I'm good. First of all, abortion is a bullshit. I don't think many people on the right care about this anywhere near as much as they say they do. So I immediately reject.
Absolutely, because as a right winger, it is one of my number one priority issues.
That's fine. That's fine. I know people say that. No, wait, hold on. That's fine. But I'm saying that if we look at the left, we're already down to. You want to talk about rabbit holes, but we're going to a weird rabbit hole. If I'm on the left,
I like the conversation.
If I'm on the left and I have a fantasy of my left-leaning president, going ham, right? What do I have? I've got Biden, who is constantly saying, I want to be a president for all Americans. I've got Garland, who took 2 years to actually issue indictments or an investigation for Donald Trump to appoint a special counsel. I've got where's my violent fantasies from? I got Obama, who did what? Where's my violent fantasies? Or I could do Trump.
It's not a statement. It can't be viewed through the lens of your ideology, because this is a comparison of how people react to their stimulus. Like I would say, if the left views abortion as like a violent, evil act, then the right wingers do see the return of like trying to make this happen, with Kamala supporting. I don't believe that Kamala ever even said a point in which it never set a limit of where she supported abortion. I've never seen that statement ever. So then obviously right-wingers do have a reason to feel that when Kamala gets in office, she'll also insist on her, what they would call a sick fantasy. That's directly corollary. So it's like, okay, obviously both administrations are willing to do something that the other person considers to be evil ideologically. The difference
if you're
between the right and the left
trying to compare,
is that, the difference between the right and the left is that the left reacts to that by saying, okay, this obviously means that violence is a solution. The right is not willing to make that leap, at least not on average. Yeah, sure.
The right gets the violence to be carried out by the administration, though. That's the difference. That's what I'm saying.
But under the right-wing worldview, so does the left.
If we're only looking at abortion, are we going to compare abortion as like such a clear-cut, obvious answer to every other type of thing that we're talking about?
Are you arguing that the right also wants that violence against the left, but instead of, maybe I misunderstood your point, maybe instead of the outlet being through their own will, like the left has to, the right gets it done through ICE, but not necessarily that ICE is the provocation for, the unequal provocation compared to abortion?
Unequal provocation compared to abortion.
It's a really bad way to say it. Okay, are you arguing
I'm just saying abortion is
are as violent? They just use ICE as their outlet.
Kind of, but I'm saying that abortion is an issue that, regardless of your stance on it, I happen to be pro-choice, but any reasonable person would acknowledge that there are difficult questions to answer in the first couple months of a fetus's existence. So that's not a clear cut. The only way that becomes clear cut is if you're religious. But otherwise, there's reasonable interpretations on both sides of that debate. But things become much less hazy when it comes to issuing indictments to political opponents, or sending ICE or the National Guard, deploying them against the will of the governors against all the states, or having federal agents standing outside California buildings when Newsom is giving a speech. These things are way more clear cut than that.
I mean, maybe to you, but to the right wing perspective, not at all.
I mean, it's not even it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense from a perspective your racial ideas or whatever. Who gets the most abortions? It's black people, right? Isn't that good for your side?
I'm not a racialist. I believe
okay, whatever. The people wouldn't it be less.
Mass genocide of African Americans is bad for conservatives.
That's fine, but wouldn't it be ultimately, consequentially, it would be less Democrat voters at the end of the day? Number one, and number two, nobody's forcing conservatives to even get abortions. So it's not being hoisted upon the conservative party where now you guys have to be baby killers and get abortions too. So it's not even.
Yeah, they're paying for it.
If you want to use the argument they're paying for it, you're probably paying less for an abortion than you would for a kid whose dad completely abandons the mom who needs social services for the rest of her life. No,
I'm totally cool with paying for that.
Then the I'm paying for it argument didn't mean anything then. No,
it did. What do you mean? I'm saying I'm paying for the action which I think is evil, while the Democrat, I'm comfortable paying with the action that I think is not evil. That's the difference. And I guess I don't want to go into full abortion debate, because I think honestly, I think Trent did a better job than I ever will on this. But
okay, then backing up from the abortion thing, here would be my question. I made the claim of stoking the tensions and the flames of civil war, and you seem to take a big issue with that statement about Trump's presidency. Let's say that I wanted to incite this country towards civil war. Okay, what would I do differently from the current administration? What action would I take that I feel like this current administration hasn't taken or is on the path to enacting?
What actually? Okay, so many other actions. You would, directly This is like a really hard question to answer because there's so many ways you could do it.
Just to be clear, hold on, wait, hold on. Just to be clear, I super disagree with that. I think that should be the easiest question in the world to answer. If you would ask me the same question, if I ask you a question, you can ask me the same one for anything. Under Biden, I give you 50 million different ways how it could be worse. But so I just want to be clear, it's a very simple question. It's only hard right now. It's only hard because you're trying to think of things that Trump hasn't already done, and you realize, holy shit, on my checklist is like 100 things. He's done that, he's done that, he's done that. That's why this is a hard question for you. The fact that you have to say it's really hard for me to think of what would be more insightful of a civil war than what the current administration has done is an indictment of the current administration. But go ahead.
It absolutely is not. It's just that I'm trying to think about what's like a measured opinion. You could say, do a civil war. Kill this official. This official needs to be. That's a way that you could be provoking.
So like when Donald Trump quote tweets people saying that people should be tried for treason and hung when those 6 senators or whatever made the video on the military shit?
He did not call for people to kill them. He called for them to be put through a trial that would see if they were liable for that crime.
And executed.
Yeah, if they were liable for the crime. Yeah, if you're found guilty, I can say blank killed somebody. Like that's different, and they should be tried for possibly face the death penalty. That's very, very, very different than saying that so and so should be killed.
Okay, in that case, then from now on, if every Democrat were to go on stage and were to say, "I think that we need to start trying every single Republican for treason and hang them if they're guilty," you'd be okay with that. You're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, well, that's fine." He said, "Try him first."
I'd say it's probably pretty ridiculous thing to do. But
okay. Just to be clear, you know that that's what everybody does, right? Like there's no such thing as a dictator that comes out and says, we're going to illegally execute our opponents. We're going to illegally murder people. There's a reason why. Right? When Saddam Hussein executed people, it's because they were being traitors to the party. When people come out, when Pinochet was murdering political opposition, when Gaddafi was doing, whenever a person comes up, they never say like, we're going to start murdering our opponents for no reason. There's always a pretextual reason for it. Because they're seditious, because they're engaged in treason, because they're betraying the state. When North Korea kidnaps people, there's always a reason for it, right? So
you think that when Trump calls, like he says, okay, so-and-so needs to be prosecuted for this crime, the end goal is to like subvert the justice system and kill them?
Considering that they have already released false indictments for multiple people, now they're trying to indict the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell? Yes.
You can think that, but that's a ridiculous leap of character. That's a wild leap in character assumption. Maybe, just maybe. You can't say like, that's the same as saying like, oh, because... which maybe this is actually a different statement, but you can't say that because someone's bringing a case, they are trying to subvert the justice system to result in that person being like falsely imprisoned or killed. Unless the case is false. But even the bringing it is not a bad thing. Am I still connected right now?
Yeah.
Okay. But either way, I obviously got really far away from the initial point. But I don't know, like my thing with Trump is I'm not like a radical like Trump guy, like where I think
you are.
He's just amazing and perfect, and I'm definitely not.
You are. You're defending them. Like I guarantee you that in 4 or 5 years, when a Democrat has won the next election, you're going to be criticizing every single thing the Democrat does as being beyond the line. Even though you can't give me a single thing that Biden did that was anywhere near as close to inflammatory as what Trump has probably even truthed out today. If I were to go Trump,
Trump's more inflammatory than Biden. Yes,
but not just inflammatory in the direction of civil war. That's what he's pushing us towards when he constantly says everybody on the left is a terrorist, everybody on the left is evil, everybody on the left is trying to do this thing, but people on the right are righteous, and when they engage in violence they're actually doing it for good reasons. And like, this is crazy shit for the president of the United States to be saying.
Yeah, that's a worse trait than Biden. Like, he has that worse than Biden. Yeah, but I don't believe, like, my difference between me and you.
Well, hold on, wait, just real quick. He doesn't have it worse than. Wait, he doesn't have it.
Civil war.
He doesn't have it.
On like death.
What incites for civil war then? Hold on, just to be clear, you agree that
for civil war.
Wait, you agree that the Civil War people in the United States, they didn't incite for civil war, right? They just said they wanted the states to have their own country, that they have the right to secede from the Union. That wasn't inciting civil war, right? So the civil war that happened wasn't incited by people who wanted a civil war, right?
Wait, so do you think that it was evil whenever the people in the Civil War were saying that they wanted states' rights, or do you think that the bad part of secession happened once they said we are seceding?
Even for the seceding, when they said we are seceding and all that shit, and the attacks at Fort Sumter and everything, yeah, these people, none of them were apparently engaged in civil war because nobody came out and said, I want civil war.
They seceded. That's provoking civil war. It's literally saying we are declaring.
Why does that have to be a civil war? You can't secede. You can't leave as a country, and now you have to be a civil war. Why?
Declaring secession, whenever a country is still claiming ownership of you, is engaging in civil war.
Okay, then don't you think declaring that people ought to be hung before they've even been charged with a crime might be like a little bit violent in terms of rhetoric towards your political adversaries?
Saying that they should be hung, or saying that the punishment can be being hung?
Either of those.
That's very different, unbelievably different. And I can say that I could say so-and-so is guilty of treason, or so-and-so should be prosecuted for treason. If Trump went out on his podium and said, and I know you probably don't believe this because you don't know me very well, but if Trump went out on his podium and he said, all right, guys, I think that we should hang this person, do it tomorrow, I would obviously say that is evil and
Nobody
wrong.
ever says that. The most evil dictators of all time never said that, though. They come out with something pretextual. They come and they say, this person has been guilty of trying to subvert our country, and they've been treasonous, and now we found them guilty, we're hanging them. That's always what they'll say.
And there's no judge, though. There's a judge in treason. There's a judge in treason. There's no judge when Saddam Hussein locks the door and then escorts his political opponents out and shoots them.
Maybe they'll have a special process for it. Like they've just put a special prosecutor in the White House to issue these bullshit indictments towards people or whatever. You agree that like the indictments that we issued towards Comey were bullshit, right?
Or issuing indictments or managing like charges.
I mean, first of all, the indictments that they've been seeking, like on Letitia James, on Comey, on Bolton, these are like bullshit indictments, right? Do you agree with that? That the Comey indictments were bad?
These issues, I haven't read into the specific indictment now. I don't know the specific indictment.
Okay, they're important. I would recommend looking into them if you care about this topic, which I know you don't. And then the second thing is haven't all of these people, because if you have an interest in the evil things the government is doing, issuing politically motivated indictments towards opponents should be like at the top of the list of like crazy shit that's happening. Oh, there's a lot of crazy shit that's happening. But you agree that like everybody in this administration, you talk about like, well, they're judges for that. Hasn't everybody in this administration been attacking all of the judges every time they disagree with them? Like saying that these judges are like illegitimate, they're illegal. I'm sorry. I didn't mean everybody. I meant the president of the United States, the vice president of the United States, the attorney general, the head of the Department of Justice.
Donald Trump disagrees with the ruling. Clearly, he's trying to take over the country.
Not disagrees with the rulings, but says these are illegitimate judges that are acting outside of their jurisdiction. They shouldn't even be allowed to make Did Biden or Obama ever say that like these judges are corrupt and evil and shouldn't be allowed to rule on these things?
I don't know. This is like a whataboutism. Like
it's not
like
a whataboutism. I'm saying Trump did a horrible thing. None of the Democrat presidents have done this horrible thing, and you're making it sound like, well, it's just a normal thing, but it's not.
Is it horrible to criticize a ruling from a judge, and then criticize like I guess the standing of the judge? Because obviously, I think the check is impeachment. Is that how is that an evil thing? Or like,
is that what he did? Is that what I said he did? He criticized a ruling?
No, I haven't. I don't know the specific scenario. I mean, I don't know everything Trump has said. This is your job. I'm in college. I have other stuff going on.
What's wrong with open borders? Is it really that bad to let someone in your country if they need help?
This is a crazy shift in topic, but yeah, it's bad to let everyone else in your country.
Not everyone. Is it bad? So it's bad to let in somebody to help them out a little bit.
Yeah, when you don't have the resources to take care of your own people already. Yeah.
It's bad to help anybody ever.
Are you like fully? Are you like fully cosmopolitan, or you just think like is this?
No, I'm repeating the vague, watered down general bullshit.
Sorry,
like, so you can't criticize a judge's ruling? He's not criticizing a judge's ruling. These people are talking about like the illegitimacy of a lot of these judges.
Oh, you're saying that I strawmanned you? Okay, yeah.
No, that you're watering down his criticism to be so tepid and weak that he's not even making. He's not. These people are questioning the legitimacy of our judges.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So questioning the legitimacy of judges. Okay. Yeah. I'd have to read the specific case. I mean, it could be bad. If it's bad, I disagree with it. But I specifically don't think. Yeah, I guess if it's bad, I disagree.
Okay.
I'd prefer to argue stuff that I like know the case we're arguing for. Because I can argue ideology all the time. I can argue like I do believe like mass illegal immigration is bad. I can argue I believe that mass deportation is a good solution to that problem. But I'd prefer not to argue like Trump on this date said this, because obviously there's going to be a stumble because I don't know every single statement from Trump. This is your full-time job. I'm a full-time college student. I'm like an 18-year-old, so I don't know everything in Trump's history because I politically was, highly activated.
It's not about knowing everything. It's just like this. Do you agree that Trump is the most divisive president we've had in the last 30, 40 years?
Let me think. I probably do, but I want to make sure I do. Yeah, I'd say probably. Yeah, totally. He's very controversial. Yeah.
But like not just controversial, like divisive, like sets the sides against each other constantly.
Those are kind of synonyms though, right? But
no.
But I like dividing. Okay, I guess like yeah, I mean Trump is pretty dividing, yeah.
Like
he disagrees with the left pretty strongly, yeah, but that's not an indictment of his character to me. Like I'd far rather.
And then just hold on, wait. I just want to be clear. I just want to get this right now in case. Just in case we get a crazy Democrat in office. If a Democrat like truths out on our own platform when we make reason.org as our truth platform, when Democrats start tweeting out things like seditious behavior, punishable by death, this is really bad and dangerous to our country, their words cannot be allowed to stand, seditious behavior from traitors, lock them up, that if the next president, Soros Jr. or whatever, is saying stuff like this about Republicans, you'll be like, oh, that's cool. I support it. It's okay, actually. As long as he's saying behavior punishable by...
I would criticize Trump for saying that's highly inflammatory, yeah.
It's just highly inflammatory. Okay. What is the difference?
He's not saying anything illegal there. It's saying that they should be. It's implying prosecution.
You can stoke the flames of civil war without saying illegal things. No.
Okay, so is your point that because he's really inflammatorily saying that someone should be prosecuted for something, we should take the logical leap to say that he is trying to create civil war?
I'm saying that if I were to try to imagine the things I would do to stoke the flames of civil war in this country, if I were to list out 50 things, my guess is Trump has probably already done 48 of them.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to need more evidence of that because I just don't.
How about the president tweeting out as long when the president is acting in to save his country, he breaks no law or whatever?
Wait, hold on. So repeat the statement.
Hold on. Let me find the exact quote. When Trump, I think, truthed out. What is it? He who saves his country does not violate any law. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Like an old quote?
I don't care if it's an old quote. I can find 50 million old quotes that are horrible old quotes. Why would that matter if it's an old quote?
From? Hold on, sorry.
I think it's like from fucking Napoleon or something.
Oh, okay. I don't know. But either way, I mean, I think if something is at the end of the day, like I would say it's an ideological disagreement probably, and like how you go through processes. But I don't think that's civil war.
How is seceding from the country? Hold on. How is seceding from a country not like a difference in process? Like the states that seceded thought they made the argument that they had the right to secede.
Yeah.
So how is that not just a process disagreement? Why does that have to be a civil war?
I'm not following the point. I apologize.
How is it that Donald Trump saying he who saves his country does not violate any law, which seems to imply that he believes as long as he's saving the country, he exist in an above the law territory where nothing he does is illegal, okay? But you're like, well, that's his opinion on the law. Why can't you just say that the states that thought that they had the legal right to secede from the Union, why are they driving us to civil war? Maybe they thought, and there were arguments at the time that they thought, well, we actually can secede from the Union. We can make our own country.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that the reason that we don't let them see because it's not in our interest. I think countries act far more in their best interest than I think oftentimes whenever interest is not able to be achieved through prior precedent, people shift. What is the policy? I think those two things are very different. But even then, I can criticize the statement that is made. I can say, maybe I disagree with it in some levels. But my argument is not that Donald Trump is a perfect user of rhetoric or that his other candidates are perfect using in their rhetoric. But I'm arguing that the reason why I support the candidate more than the opposition is because the opposition, while, yeah, sure, maybe rhetorically is better off, their ideology is radically different and in direct opposition to
I don't even know what ideology Trump has. You can't even point to a consistent ideology from Trump.
You can't go. You don't think there's big ideological differences between him and Kamala?
I don't know what I can't even say the ideology. Can you give me one consistent policy position that Donald Trump has had?
Believes that all illegal immigrants should be deported.
Okay, that's a big position that he's had in this administration. Although they're horribly at doing any mass deportations. His first term in office, they didn't really focus on it that much. The illegal immigration was growing in his administration until year 4 when COVID happened.
Yeah, I mean, well, he hadn't been as focused on the problem, but it's definitely always been ideologically viewed as bad. Do you not believe that matched with his ideology always, that he believes that to be negative?
No, not all the time, right? They had talks with didn't he have that big thing where he came out and he was like, well, we're not going to enforce this as much with farmers and hotels or whatever, because they were getting a whole bunch of complaints from certain states who were saying hey, we're going to get fucked really hard in these sectors if you guys.
Well, I guess here's a better way to put how I feel about it. It's not necessarily that it's he's super consistent on it, but Kamala is consistently oppositional almost. There was never really much rhetoric about trying to work in the problem.
They had a piece of legislation to do it. They had a bill to do it. which is
was
way
not
more
sufficient at all, and would have led to a bigger problem down the road.
But it wouldn't have, right? It would have largely fixed the asylum problem. You're just dead wrong there.
No.
You just don't. You should read the bill. You don't know the facts. You just have no idea. That's just not true. It would have been a real solution.
It allows a minimum.
What?
It allows a minimum of crossings.
It's not a minimum. That's a maximum. The maximum before was infinity.
Or sorry, a maximum, but it allows not a minimum, but it allows a bar below the maximum, which is inherently accepted.
There's always gonna, yeah, but you have some people cross, you deport them. What do you mean? It's not like they accept illegal immigrants. It was how many asylum seekers could come through to be adjudicated.
Do you earnestly? What do you think Kamala Harris's solution to the problem of mass immigration would have been?
The solution would have been to multiply the funding to three. I think it was 3 times the amount of asylum judges. It would have been to increase funding and security for the border, real funding and security, not painting the fucking fence black like the office right now did. And then it would have been
clearly the security seems to be working if the crossings are so low. But I guess,
I can't. The problem is I can't believe any of the numbers from the current administration because I know it's not zero. You know it's not zero. So both of us agree they're lying about that, right? So that's already bullshit. We've already seen them do things like, oops, we don't have the October jobs report, lol, right? So we already know that they'll lie when the numbers don't support their case. Okay, and then 3, I'm sure that there is probably less illegal immigration. There's less of every immigration because Trump is fucking this country in like 50 million different ways. I don't know how much that supports the argument. But all I'm saying is regardless of any success he's had, there would have been more with an actual piece of legislation that would have actually done something for the border. It would have been a real solution, not the virtue signal one, because I don't think conservatives actually give a fuck about illegal immigration. I don't think it's as big a problem as they say it is.
I totally disagree. I think that obviously the policy is attempting to move in this direction. Maybe there actually could have been more solution, but only because he wouldn't have been as impeded as he is currently by all of the opposition who does not want. They don't want.
If that's the case, then it's still a failing of his as the leader of the country. If it was an actual problem, then I would say the conservatives should be super mad.
The problem and having people oppose him is a failure because he wants to solve the problem and they don't.
Is that why they're opposing him?
Yes. I don't think they want. I do not.
Wait. You say that again. So they're only opposing Trump because he wants to deport illegal immigrants. That's the only reason?
No, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. I'm saying that they're opposing him on illegal immigration because I don't believe that they share the interest of deporting illegal immigrants.
Try again. Keep going. Why are they opposing? We went over this whole thing before. I think it's the videos from Kristi Noem. I think it's the video of alligator Alcatraz selling merchandise from it. I think it's
do you think it's all rhetoric? Okay, so
yes,
do you
I think most of it is. Yes,
earnestly, you think it's all rhetoric, and you don't think there's an ideological disagreements where Trump thinks that we should be deporting people and Kamala does not.
I don't think that there is as much daylight between the two parties as Trump makes it out to be.
That's not an answer, though. That's not an answer, though. I mean, do you believe that's a problem that Kamala cares about?
Yes. They were talking about immigration, and they were talking about, even under Biden's term, what was the fucking statement? She's like, do not come. Do not come. Yes, they were talking about it for the Biden administration.
Were they doing a good job? Were they doing like an active, like intense job on it?
No, but because they didn't have the funding for it, because the laws on the books were fucking. Because if somebody comes in and claims asylum, you have to let them in and you give them a fucking flip and they sit the country somewhere until their adjudication date comes up. And there was a bigger backlog for the adjudication of these cases for the asylum judges than there ever had been in U.S. history. Because as soon as COVID ended...
We can talk to Trump all the time for methodology, but it seems as though Trump is doing a far better job at reaching that ends. Like, I can say all we want, the rhetoric is bad, all of these things, but at the end of the day, I'm an American who lives in my daily life, and I know that by consequence of Trump's efforts, the illegal immigration problem is being solved far more than it was under the Biden administration.
It's not, though.
There was not.
Do you agree when he said there were 30 million? He said there were 30 million illegals here, right? He said 30 million came under Biden, and they've deported, if we take their numbers for it, 2 million. So that's 28 million more people.
How many did Biden deport? How many did Biden
No, I'm not talking about Biden. You're talking about Trump, okay? There are 30 million that came under Biden, and he's deported...
It's a comparison. That's the topic is comparison.
Well, the comparison would be with the border bill that Trump shut down. So that would be what we compare it to.
Okay, well, minus the bill, was Biden trying to do a good job?
Minus the bill. The bill is how you do it.
You think he was banking on the bill? That was his only effort. He really wanted.
It was a comprehensive approach, yeah. As opposed to just trying to do everything via executive order.
He proposed it right at the end of the administration as a consolation prize to more moderates.
The bill had been worked on for years. This was a Senate written bill for immigration stuff.
Okay, but you don't believe that Joe Biden did a bad job about handling illegal immigration.
I think he could have done a better job, but I mean, like, he came in under COVID. We had Israel and Ukraine. Like, there was a whole bunch of fucking going on in the world. We were fighting inflation the whole time.
So much going on too. I mean, but
no, hold on, wait. That's not true. There was nothing going on in the world under Trump. He's the one who came in and started up. There were no new wars starting. Now we're at war with fucking Venezuela. We weren't bombing Iran. Now we're bombing Iran. Okay? We weren't tariffing the entire fucking... Now we're tariffing the entire fucking world. We weren't like blowing up random fucking ships in the ocean. Now we're blowing up random ships. None of this stuff was happening until Trump came into office. And now it's all happening now. He's bombed like 9 countries in the past year.
I that's such a different topic. But either way, I don't believe that because there were other stuff going on under Biden, it excuses Biden not working to combat one of the bigger problems.
It wasn't a bigger problem. The huge problem is affordability and inflation, and then like crazy international war stuff that was also influencing affordability and inflation. These were the huge problems. Immigration is only a huge problem. Illegal immigration is a huge problem. No, I know it's not. I know it's not. I know it's not. You know, I know it's not an important issue, even to conservatives, because if it was, all of you would be furious that Trump has failed miserably for no reason in addressing the problem.
I wish you could see me talk about this regularly, because I genuinely am.
Okay. Then you should say every day how irritated you are that Trump made an enemy out of everything. Because if you wanted to get rid of illegal immigrants, there are so many easier things that Trump could have done that would have made Democrats look so trying to oppose him on it.
Pieces of Trump, I mean, which pieces of most of Trump's intervention efforts, I also am not too interested in either. I mean, I'm not like a diehard. Like, I understand the conception is, okay, I'm a conservative and I think Trump is better, so I love Trump. That's not the case. And while I do believe, and the reason why I contest a lot of your positions, is I do believe that you take a far more hardline anti-Trump position than I would. There are many areas. The failure to successfully deport as many people as I think should be is a big sticking point for me. However, I am significantly more in favor of it than what I see as barely any or to zero effort as was happening under the Biden administration. I don't
accept a comprehensive bill that would have completely addressed the asylum problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
But set a precedent that some people should be allowed at some point.
No, there's no bill. When you say that, do you think the bill is saying we should allow illegal immigrants?
Well, it said it reduced the amount of border encounters that were
for people that could claim asylum. Those people still have to be adjudicated. They're not just automatically granted asylum. They go to an asylum judge. But the issue is the judges were backed up after COVID, so it was the catch and release thing. They give them a slip and they've got to come to their court date in a month or whatever, or 2 or 7.
Yeah, well, either way, off the bill, I honestly, I would love, I at one point I knew more about it, and I feel bad that if I would have known it would have gone here, I would have looked back more into it, but the main thing that bothers me about the comparison is, like, yeah, of course, there's this one bill, but yet Trump, there's not the bill passed, and yet Trump has had a really way more successful job at dealing with the problem than Biden has. Do you not agree with that?
I don't even know if that's true. I don't know who deported more people between Trump or Biden. I actually don't know the answer to that. I don't know who's
partisan denialism.
It's not partisan denialism. I do know that if I really cared,
Biden's rhetoric about illegal immigrants.
I don't know if the self-deportations are good. If there were 1 million people here who would have lost their asylum case because they came here for bullshit reasons, and the administration said, we'll give you $1,000 or $2,000 to leave, and they're like, oh, fuck yeah. And now we've just fucking shit out, $2 billion to people that shouldn't have fucking been here in the first place. Why would I think that's a good deal? The problem would have been better spent on just having more asylum judges. You would have spent less money. You would have rewarded them for fucking the country illegally under bullshit pretense, and then send them back to whatever fucking to come back legally again if they wanted to. Because part of that self-deportation thing.
The monetary impact is so low. The monetary impact is pretty low in the grand scheme of things. I think when it comes to resolving the problem.
But the problem's not resolved.
For like 2 million people, it is. That's a big percentage, right?
Well, if somebody puts a knife in you 6 inches and pulls out 2 inches of it, is the problem solved? Would you say, well, yeah, 2 inches are not in me anymore?
Yeah, 2 inches, the problem is solved. Yeah. Would you rather have a knife in your heart or have a knife like by your heart? I would definitely prefer the latter.
By your heart? You mean in your heart or partially in your heart? What are you talking about? Is it more gay or less gay to be fucked 6 inches of dick or 4 inches of dick? What are you talking? What do you mean? He said there were 30. No, he said there were 30 million that came in under Biden, and by their own numbers, they've only gotten rid of 2. That's a failure. That's a binary fucking failure.
Arguing that reduction of the problem is not better than the solution, or is not a part of the solution, because it factually is.
No, because the border bill would have solved it more. The border bill would have solved more.
Okay, well, okay, we can't say, okay, Trump deported a large amount of people, and yet all these people who came in under Biden. Okay, well, we're going to be down on Trump because Trump hasn't fixed Biden's problem in the first year. How is
He's not going to fix it anymore. Hold on, wait.
From a conservative, that's an indictment of Trump, but not from a leftist at all.
There will be no bill passed on the border. And this will be the highest year for deportations. I know those two things are absolutely true.
I would be very disappointed if there's no border bill passed.
Okay, there won't be.
And I will publicly, I can promise you, listen, this is one thing about me, and this is like, I get very annoyed with the radical partisan MAGA people who just
hold on. Nothing that you're about to say, nothing about what you're going to say matters because of 2 reasons. Yeah, you're going to publicly criticize him afterwards, even though we all knew that he was going to be fucking ass on the fucking anyway. Number 1, and number 2, you'll absolutely support either the next Republican or nobody, guaranteed, no matter what. So it doesn't matter what your strong position publicly is. It doesn't matter. You're always going to vote for the next Republican.
Wait, how is it dismissive of the fact that I'm willing to criticize Trump where he fails if I'm not willing to take that leap and support a Democrat who's oppositional to my ideology?
Because then the criticism doesn't matter. They know they're going to get your vote anyway. They don't care. Why the fuck would I care? If I was a politician and you were criticizing me, why the fuck would I care? You're not gonna...
like primaries?
Yeah.
Candidate criticism does matter.
Oh, so in the primaries, were you more supportive of Trump or of DeSantis or of the other lady? Fuck, I forgot her name.
Haley?
Yeah, Nikki Haley. You were supportive of Trump?
In the primary,
yeah.
Initially, I wasn't very supportive of Trump in the primary.
Initially, you weren't, but you were eventually. You were. What, I don't know what weird hedge that was, but you supported Trump in the primary,
To be
right?
honest, it's tricky because I'm a younger person. My ideology has changed in some ways since then. In the moment, I was, but looking back now, I think it's a tricky question.
Okay.
But there's an evolution in some ways there. But I don't know. Like in general, it's not about like worshiping Trump. I think Trump is great. I don't have to. I can say there's problems with a candidate and then still say that they're better than the opposition, which is like radically against my ideology. Like having a D on your name isn't the reason why I'm never going to vote for it. What the reasoning is because Democrat candidates believe in Democrat ideology, which is just fully opposed to mine in almost every way. Not in every way. Actually, economically, I'm not really I'm definitely more moderate economically, but like I don't know, in most ways far opposed to mine. I don't see how that pivot represents like sort of a bad faith criticism or failure to pivot. Sorry.
Are you are you in oh, okay. I don't think you have any major policy disagreements with Trump. I don't believe that. Can you name any? I'm just curious. The biggest one, not random stuff. But what's the biggest policy disagreement you have with Donald Trump besides Israel? Sorry.
I think the Iranian. Oh, besides Israel. Okay, I was gonna say the Iranian nuclear strikes.
Yeah.
I think that talking about long-term Venezuelan occupation could be very negative. I think regime change is a really scary thing and a really like a really turbulent thing to just assume it's gonna go right. And I think it's very scary to see someone like confidently say that we can just sit, maintain the area. Like I would have preferred to see a more solid plan, and I would have preferred to see.
Okay, how is it then? How do I read? Because I'm just scrolling. I'm just curious, whatever, right? And I see you saying on January 3rd, this sets a great example to dictators all over the world when Donald Trump strikes Venezuela. You quote tweet the Department of Homeland Security about Venezuela, and you're like, now this is epic. And you're tweeting out like, me want oil. How is this like not supportive of
my corny Twitter? Okay, I mean it's not that I don't support the initial attack, but I don't support the occupation.
Wasn't the whole point of the attack to occupy and take the oil afterwards?
Do you have to occupy to take the oil?
Well, how are you going to take it all in one helicopter ride?
But we get the difference between that and what Trump is saying, right?
I don't know how you take oil without long-term occupation. Explain it to me. My understanding, and I might just be retarded, I thought you would have to stand up long-term oil extraction and then refinement plants and then secure shipping routes and everything else.
Oil is a meme. I just thought it was funny because we're taking oil. Like,
yeah, but like you can't. He's not going to get. We're not going to get any oil from Venezuela because we can't. That requires like years or decade of like long-term capex investment, like all sorts of stuff that we're not going to do. How would you take oil without some kind of occupation?
Oh, I don't know. I just said we want oil. It's kind of like the reason I support the attack is not because of oil. I think it's just because Maduro is a narco-terrorist.
Okay.
And that's a meme. Me want oil. I thought it was funny.
Okay. You weren't supportive of Trump's rhetoric then when he was saying like no new wars, right? You were like, oh, I disagree with Trump on this. Like we definitely need to have more wars.
No, I agree with the no new wars. I think that just having a specific strike is different than having a war, though. I mean, we can demonstrate the difference, right?
No.
Do you think we are at war with Iran right now?
In a way, yes. Or we were,
no.
Yeah. You think you can bomb countries and it's not considered what is it? What would we call it? A special military operation, or? No,
and not the Putin thing. No, it's just different. I mean, objectively, we did not experience warlike consequences with our Iranian strike, despite how I somewhat disagree with it in a lot of ways. But
was the Iraq war a war? Since we didn't really experience many consequences for that. For just the deposing of Saddam Hussein. This is like before you were even born, maybe. Sorry.
When I say no new wars, I mean I think it's obviously there's times where response can be justified for war, but I don't support like war efforts or engaging in war efforts. But I also think it's just a rhetorical strategy. But yeah, I support that.
If the president were to invade and try to capture Greenland, would you support that?
Probably not. No.
What are you weighing here to say probably not?
It would be the way it's done. Like I don't like whether it's what type of invasion it is. My policy for all of this stuff is whether or not it's just clearly beneficial for America. And I think in the case of Maduro's strike or Maduro's capture, presently it seems to be beneficial. But obviously, I'm sure that there's ways to contest that. I guess I wouldn't be fully prepared to qualify that. But specifically, I think that it's this is more conversational than hardline, but I think that if the Greenland invasion was done in a certain way, maybe I'd support it. But like presently, every way that I see it going down, it seems to be like it would be a negative thing. But it depends on the rationality of it in some ways.
Do you think that if the European Union were to send if the EU were to send some Jason Bourne type character to Donald Trump, do you agree that that would probably be justified from their perspective?
The UN to send like someone to assassinate Trump,
or the EU or whatever?
No, I don't think.
If Donald Trump is talking about invading a sovereign piece of land owned by a European nation, why would that not be justified? If you're saying it was justified for us to kill, or I'm sorry, not kill, but to capture Maduro, why would it not be justified for the European Union to do something like this to protect their interests?
Because we're not like a terrorists trying to destroy their countries.
What would you call capturing Greenland illegally from them and stealing it?
Yeah, that would be negative. I mean, there would be reason for them to be oppositional to that. Obviously, it's a direct attack.
Yeah. So would they not have? Yeah. You don't think they would have some moral right or have some justification to try to the U.S. leader there in that case?
If you're at war with someone, generally you're comfortable like them, but that's very different though. Like it's like
okay. So if the United States starts sending boats,
to be fully frank, these are hypotheticals. Like if this did happen, it would take a few days for me to think about it. I'd have to read through everything. Speaking off the top of my head, I have not devoted much thought to how I would feel if Trump invaded Greenland.
Okay, isn't it worth thinking about since he keeps talking about it over and over again, and we just show that the president of the United States is willing to unilaterally? Okay,
I don't think it's.
He just deposed the leader of another state for no reason, right?
What'd you say?
He just like on his own unilaterally from the White House just deposed the leader of a foreign state. So I don't know why it would be that crazy to think that he couldn't do Greenland next.
It's a pretty big leap, right?
No. It's a much further leap to go from not doing anything to getting rid of Maduro like that?
You don't think that annexation is a big leap from like a deposition?
Not as much as the leap from not doing it to Maduro is. The leap from Maduro to Greenland is much shorter than the leap from where we are to Maduro.
Yeah, that's not an argument against it, though. That's not an argument that's going to happen. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, we're closer to that direction, but I guess this is something where I'd prefer not to take a hardline stance on it, because truthfully, I'd like to learn more about it. I'm not hard partisan about it, but I'd like to see what the cost benefit would be, and I don't even know if the information is here right now to do that.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Well, any other topics you want to float over?
Can I ask you a question? Wait, sorry. Can I ask you a question?
Go for it.
This is unrelated to political or like partisan really, so maybe boring. But what do you think about universal basic income?
Not a big fan of it. I feel like every time I see a new paper come out or a new study, it just doesn't seem to do what people want it to do. I think there's a way to implement it in some ways where I'd be okay with it, like to reduce the cost of some federal programs. But as it stands right now, with the way people talk about it, it seems like it just doesn't have very good results.
Do you think like the kind of conversation around like I've seen a lot of this from like Elon Musk and people like that, where it's like as AI rises to a certain level, people will have to income will have to be supplemented obviously through like a universal high income or whatever. Would you consider even like a universal high income program to be like a positive or a negative?
I'd have to see how it's implemented, but if Elon Musk said it, there's a good chance that probably the opposite is true because I guess so I'm not sure. There's something called the lump of labor fallacy, where people assume that once some level of automation occurs, that nobody's going to have work. But the thing is that once people get more stuff, they always want more and more and more stuff. So there's always like a greater demand. So humans just tend to shift into other jobs. Now, some people theorize that some kind of general AI or stronger AIs are actually going to cause a thing to happen where there's less work to be had and people legitimately don't have jobs to work. I don't know if that happens. We're entering like a whole new economic era that nobody's prepared for before, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's very concerning. I really do not like UBI. I think it's like very bad and like a big threat to like a human life. But all right, well, I guess I'll let you get back to the stream and everything. I appreciate you bringing me on. Thank you very much.
Wait, I'm just curious. Why do you think UBI is a huge threat to human life? Or whatever?
Sorry. So I think like the main like I guess what makes human life I guess pleasurable I think is like going through the process of like achievement. Like I think that's by far the most important thing for human psyche. Like I think it's almost hard to even simulate that. Like I think if people don't directly go through the process of like achieving the means by which they are like in some ways physically fulfilled, I think it's really bad for long-term psychological development. I think you see that in people who have like really high amounts of like inheritance. I think you see that in a lot of different scenarios. But I think it threatens like the identity of like a human inherently.
Okay. All right. Well.
Gotcha. Well, just thought that was interesting. But appreciate you having me on. Happy to talk about that ice shooting in Minnesota. And thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate the conversation. Be careful. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Jesus.